Together we are but first coffee. Suzy's just our host, but what matters most is we are a team. Together we are all safe here, and so are you. Among friends and mods we are safe. We talk about trauma, break down drama of life, death, happy or sad, even mad. We discuss it all here. Together we will thrive, not just survive. We will dry each other's tears, celebrate big or small wins, and chase away the fears. Together we fight cults or fight addictions. If not with experience, with love, and we don't judge. Please understand, this is a safe place to land. Please understand, you're not alone. This is a safe place to land. Together we thrive, not just survive. We will dry each other's tears, celebrate big or small wins, and chase away the fears. Because we are but first coffee, and Suzy welcomes us all here. Together we are but first coffee, and
Hi, everybody. It's good to see everyone. I want to welcome everybody that's coming in from our channel and also from Keela's channel. It's good to have you here. I'm sure we'll get a lot as we go on. It always takes a little bit for the algorithm to work or the notifications to go out, whatever it is. But we do welcome everybody, whether you're live or on the replay later, whether you're chatting, commenting later, or just lurking. We are so glad you're here and just appreciate you coming here and sharing this with us. I think it's going to be a really important topic that we're talking about today. It is going to be about the aftermath of having somebody who unalives himself, and it is Mental Health Awareness Month still. The month of May is that month. So we are going to be talking with Keela today because who better to talk to about it than Keela? She's got her channel, and if one of the mods can put her link to her channel up, that would be great. If not, I will put it in at some point, or Keela can. So I'm glad to be back, guys. I really have been kind of shifting things around this week. Whenever I took time off to let I got my eye scratched last week by my dog, and I took some time off to let that kind of heal and not be in the lights and all that. So I was taking the weekend off. Little did I know that on Monday we would lose not one but two of my cousins. They are both males, Larry Dale and Danny. They died independently of each other. They weren't in an accident or anything. Danny had a heart attack. We don't know yet what happened to Larry Dale. We think that it was probably a heart attack or something. Larry Dale actually lived next door to us, and he and my husband Mark, and then also my son-in-law Curtis had become pretty close. They talked a lot, and they the yards bumped up to each other, so they would mow right up to each other and sit and talk for a while and work on each other's lawnmowers and stuff. So guy stuff. But anyway, so Larry Dale, we called him Larry Dale because not only was his dad's name Larry, but my dad is named Larry, and my dad is his mother's. Not sure where I went. Okay, there I am. But anyway, and then Danny was, I think, number 5. I get it so confused. No, number number 4 or 5 of 8 boys to my dad's oldest sister. So it's like I had all these I literally only had like 2 girl cousins and had tons of boy cousins. So, yeah, but we're getting older and things keep happening. So, yeah, it was quite a shock, and I am kind of shifting things around and trying to deal with the grief of it. And today's topic will have a trigger warning, y'all, because we know that this is a hard subject for each other. But I'm kind of glad that we're talking about it today because even with my recent losses in my family, and it wasn't due to self-aliving, but I think that it's perfect timing for me because the grief process is hard no matter how you're doing it. I do believe that when it is due to a self-unaliving, I think that there's a whole other realm of that. But I don't know. I think that being here today with you all and with, my friends and all of you, that it's a good place for me to be right now. And so I want to thank you for that. And I want to thank everybody for the kind messages that everybody has sent me. Um, it's been it's been amazing. It really has. You guys don't understand how much you can help somebody through such a hard situation just by being kind. And I appreciate that. So I'm gonna I have a little something I want to start out with as far as the subject goes, and then I'm gonna bring Keela on and we are gonna get started. Um at the end of our discussion, I do have some things I'm gonna pop up on the screen that we will talk about too, or at some point during the conversation, I'll pop those up and we can talk about those. And please, from either channel, if you have questions or comments, please mark that with Q's or C's or something so that we know that it's a question or a comment that we need to pay attention to. I do have Mischief in the background. She will be marking those as best that she can. And I just want to get to all of your questions and comments. But first, I'm going to start with this little kind of a intro, I guess, kind of thing. So, when somebody that we love dies by their own hand, the world as we know it doesn't just stop, it absolutely shatters. I had a dear, my best friend in high school that unalived himself. And so I understand it as best I can. I mean, we were friends, and I know that's not the same as if you're a parent or a sibling, but I want you to know I do understand that it is shattering, absolutely shattering. There's grief, but there's also confusion, there's anger, there's guilt. And in my research, I found that they were saying that some people even felt an odd sense of relief and then guilt about that relief. And we just want you to know that all of those feelings, they're okay. It is okay. And so we don't want you to feel bad about those and to understand that you're not alone. It is a grief that doesn't follow the usual rules for those left behind, and it can feel like you are walking through a really deep fog, trying to carry some huge weight that that other people can't even see. So, if you've lost someone to their own hand, you're not alone. Your pain is valid. Your questions are normal, and your healing through this messy and very slow process is possible. So at this point, I would like to introduce Keela and bring her to the stage and, get her to talk a little bit about where she comes at from this situation as far as, the mental health profession, but also her own knowledge of this great loss and how that can affect somebody. So I'm going to bring Keela on. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I am so sorry that you aren't feeling well, and if you need to cut this short at any point, we could absolutely do that. I just wanted you to know that. I
Thank
kind of I kind of, like, blanked and didn't say that when we were backstage.
Oh, it's
But I
fine.
want you to know,
I'm okay.
yeah. But if, you know, physically, mentally, anything, if you need a break, you just let me know.
Okay.
Okay. So anyway, can you tell people just a little bit about how you work with people with mental health issues, both professionally, and tell them about your channel? I really we did put the link in the chat, but I
Yeah.
want just for those that don't know.
Um, so I was a paramedic. I still am. Um, and I was working for an ambulance company. And my mom has always been a psychiatric nurse my whole life. She's
Wow.
got her master's and all that. Well,
Wow.
and I'm sorry, my throat is really hoarse. And I was always around it. I swore I will never do that. I
Yeah.
will never do, don't say that.
Never say never.
Yeah, don't say the extremes are not gonna happen or they're gonna be bad.
Yeah.
So, my mom decides to open up this business that no one else had, and she
Oh.
saw it. She's very, I don't know, she always thinks ahead. Like, she
Mhm.
thinks ahead of, what could we do for everybody, people like this,
Yeah.
because she was the director of nurses at the crisis unit. Then they shut it down. Imagine that. It was all about money. And don't get me
Mm.
started on big pharma and pharmacies. That's
Yeah.
what my PCP was here a while ago. She goes, "Don't get me started." And and so she decided to open. We bought. Well, she built a house, and when I say house, I'm talking like 4 bedroom, 3 bathroom. I mean, and then she
Mhm.
bought the one next door. So we opened in '04, '04, '04. And it was
Oh,
weird.
wow.
And then we were full. Like the first week, we were full, and
Yeah.
because we got our nonprofit status 82808, I had filed for that, and we got it because people don't have the money
Yeah.
to have somewhere to
Ugh.
live, buy food, buy their medicine. They just don't have it. So my
Mm.
mom, she did it, and her dream came.
Wow.
I mean, 21 years, and it's people. We don't
Wow.
take anyone under 18. We don't take
Mhm.
anybody with that SA background at all.
Yeah.
I do
No, that's understandable.
background searches now. We do hospice patients also. We have the ones that have lived there and just, I mean, their son lived there 18 years. The age
Mhm.
in place law allows us to keep them. Otherwise, we wouldn't get to keep them because we only got the license to give them room, board, do their laundry, take them to the doctor, order their meds, just about everything. But
Mhm.
to do that, we would have to it would be unaffordable to them. We're not funded by government funds, anything. They pay what they
Wow.
can pay, and then we get very blessed, and I've had to walk in faith a a lot of times. I didn't know where we were gonna get the next food for them. I mean,
Yeah.
but I didn't worry about it because I just didn't. It always happened, and I was like, it was a God thing.
Mhm.
And,
Wow.
we never I mean, it would get close, but never did it take us down, and not even the hurricanes took us down.
Wow. That's amazing. The
Tell me
hurricanes took
about
a
it.
lot of people down.
Rita, Ike, Imelda, Harvey didn't touch the everything around us, it did. My house, it did,
Wow.
but not my facilities. One that's in bet there's a well house in between. I stood outside with my camera and videoed the tornado coming through and ripped the well house off and then ripped the tree off, and it
Oh my
fell
goodness.
backwards into this mobile home park that we butt up against. That wasn't funny. The guy
Mm.
was so mad, but it didn't touch. I mean, I'm talking like this much, and it would have got didn't touch his home, but he was raising hell. I'm
Wow.
like, dude, we got people over here that need oxygen. I ain't worried about that.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah.
that's basically what we do. I'm the CEO, and
Mhm.
I hired an
You
office.
all have any kind of a generator or anything like
Oh
that?
yeah, we had our hospice company. And because we had a bunch of generators, like, they only ran so
Mhm.
much stuff. I tried to get a Generac. They were sold out and weren't gonna have any for, like, 2 years.
Mhm.
So, the hospice company and the hospice company and our primary care anywhere, that is our psych and medical doctors, and
Mhm.
the church that always brings us food to help us out, Turning Point. They donated enough money for us to get a Generac, and there was
Uh,
none left. So they went and bought us the one right down from it. It runs the whole entire house. So we just bring
oh,
them all
wow.
to one place. That way we can,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, they get mad, but they can get
Wow.
over it.
Well,
I
it's
had to
better than not having power.
As I said, y'all grab about it being hot. You could come over here and get an air conditioner because we got it. But I don't
Yeah.
know. You can't ever make them happy. I just do my best.
Yeah, you can't ever make everybody happy, no
Nope.
matter who it is.
Uh,
Absolutely.
Susie, I have learned that.
Mhm.
I've really learned
Yeah.
that.
Some people are happiest when they're miserable or
Yeah.
causing someone to be miserable,
Yeah, I can't go
but
there
that's
because
another
I
thing.
mean, I can't stay around that type of toxicity because
Yeah.
my mental health is going insane right now just because I don't leave. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for those of you that don't know, Kayla is really suffering some serious physical health situations, and anytime that we go through serious physical health situations, it cannot help but affect our mental health. So, she's really not only helping people with this mental health issue, but also trying to work through it herself, which I think is I don't know. Keela, she's something else. I mean, she is always like taking care of somebody else even when her whole life is on fire. And so if you don't know her, if you've not been to her channel, please do because she's a special, special person. I'm blessed to know her, and you would be too. So,
I can say the same
s-
thing about you,
so
Susie. Thank
oh well, thank you. Now moving into our actual topic for today, I mentioned in my intro that I had a friend in high school that he unalived himself. It was not sudden. We kind of expected it. He had tried multiple times. He had actually um he had smoked weed one time in his
you. Mhm.
life, and somebody thought that it would be funny to lace it with something.
My God.
And that's what they did, and it had I can't
Mm-mm.
even go into the words. It's his medical stuff. I wouldn't tell that even though
No,
he's
but
been
that's
gone. But you can imagine it had a very adverse reaction to him. He was having anxiety like crazy, vomiting 50, 60, 70 times and more a day. There was I mean this went on for months and months and months. He was in a institution all because somebody thought it was funny. And they didn't get punished. And so I've never understood that. So I wanted to bring into this point that he finally did end his life. And when I read the part when I was doing some research about that some people almost feel relief, at first it just offended me. And then I thought, no, back up. Because I did feel almost a sense of relief, not for me, but for him, because he was absolutely tortured the last probably 2 years of his life. And even the preacher at his funeral talked about the relief, for him. And
that is
so,
very good.
I kind of, like I said, I was offended. I'm like, who would be relieved, kind of a thing. And then I honestly thought, wait a minute, wait, it's not necessarily that, oh, phew, that's over. It's not that.
No.
It's a relief of, oh my God, they're not tortured anymore,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And so anyway, I brought that up, but you have your own experience with that and a different sort of situation. And I wondered if you could share some of that with us today, just what you're comfortable with. Um,
Yeah. No, no, it's no problem. More than one, but
yeah, which
the
is
main one,
whatever you want,
the
whatever you want
main
to talk
one
about,
was my grandson at 13.
which is Oh.
His name was Dylan. We called him Pickles. And he waited till his brother's birthday on the 28th of November, and he unalived himself in the living room on the 29th.
Oh.
There was no, trust me, my daughter, there's nothing they didn't have. But they were over
Mhm.
at my oldest grandbaby, who is fixing to have my great grandbaby.
Aw.
And and so Carrie went to bed. Um, her little sister went to bed. That's one under her. Then Derek and they all went. Little Derek and little David, they all went to sleep. I went to bed. When my daughter walked outside the door, Pickles was the only one sitting in the living room. They had been killing squirrels. And so he was cleaning
Mhm.
out his gun. And trust me, down here in the South, and kids are taught
Yeah.
gun safety before they're 3 years old.
Yes. Well, you
So,
have to because, people
mm,
hunt and everything, and
yes.
even I mean, and it's age appropriate stuff. It's like, do not touch. If you
Mhm.
see it, you go tell mommy or
Yes,
daddy or whoever.
absolutely. They're taught that.
Yeah.
Every kid in our family, yes, they're absolutely taught
Oh, yeah.
gun safety
I
and
mean, from a
don't touch.
very, very young age.
Yeah.
When they're and
And
people
so
aren't just leaving them laying everywhere,
no.
you know?
No, and that was his
But
gun. It was they were shooting squirrels when he
yeah.
was cleaning it, and, my daughter goes outside to smoke a cigarette, and she said she didn't get the lighter struck, and she heard a boom, and she walked back in, and she tried CPR, but there was nothing to do CPR on.
Yeah.
Find out it was a bunch of freaking kids who had this pack on the internet.
Oh,
Watch your kids on the internet, please, for the love of
absolutely.
y'all, if anybody gets anything out of what I'm saying, please don't just take it for granted that they're not doing anything. That is
Mhm.
You have no idea what they're doing. We had no
No.
idea that these kids had a suicide pact, and I'm sorry for saying that,
No,
an
that's
alive
okay.
pact. And my grandson is the only one who did it.
Wow.
And the other
But
ones
yet,
didn't get
he felt the pressure, but
Mhm. And the other ones got nothing, nothing, because they're all minors.
Well, that's with this I mean, the people that, the person, we're not sure which one it was. It was a married couple that he was actually living with. It was his cousins, and they didn't get in any kind of trouble, and they're adults, and I just don't
Mhm.
understand why we don't take that kind of stuff more seriously, you know?
I
This
wish they would.
caused his death. It caused
Exactly what's causing it, and that's what we were like, "He's 13 years old. He was gonna be 14 on
Mhm.
March 9th." I'm like, "How the heck did
Yeah.
why did he do this?" We'll never know except that pact that they had between the kids.
Mhm.
That's not okay.
No. And, there are some as young as 8 that,
Mm,
unalive themselves, and it just
just
absolutely
Just watch your
yeah,
kids. That's all I'm saying, watch your kids. Even if
absolutely.
you think they're not doing anything when they're not there, I'm not saying, because I know how it feels, but just you don't feel like you're giving them their safety and trusting them.
Mhm.
I would rather my kid not trust me than not be here.
Absolutely.
And I'm not their
Absolutely.
friend. I'm their parent.
Absolutely. I wanna show a couple of slides that I have kinda as we go along that I think might also, um, bring, more questions and stuff, and what I would like to do is I wanna show these first couple, and then I wanna talk to you specifically about the aftermath of the act, because the act is one single act, and the aftermath of it goes on
That
for so long, and so I wanna kind of try to hit and miss where we're at so that we kinda keep people kind of informed as we go. So, I I hope I do this right. So, let's see. I want to add this one. Okay. So, the scope of unaliving yourself today, and it says understanding the broader picture of unaliving yourself can help survivors feel less isolated, and make sense of the unimaginable, here are some key facts. In the US, someone dies approximately every 11 minutes. Over 49,000 lives were lost to unaliving themselves in 2022, the
Right.
highest number ever recorded in a single year. Can you imagine?
And look at the year, though.
Yeah,
Look at the
I
year.
was thinking that too. Look at the
Yeah.
year.
Look at the year.
Mhm. As if as if the, health issues of that year weren't bad enough.
Right.
The mental health, which is a
Yeah.
health issue. We need to
Yeah, mental
remember
health
that
is
that is a health. Yeah. So it says that men die nearly 4 times more often than women, although women attempt more frequently. And the highest rates by age group are among adults aged 45 to 64. Guys, that's right in my age range, a lot of your age range. And it just is awful. But this one is really shocking to me, which it said was followed by adults 75 and older.
I I see
I
that.
Yeah, I do too when I started thinking about it.
I see that.
And among youth ages 10 to 24, self-unaliving is the second leading cause of death. But I really believe, and I'm not an expert, and you might correct me on this if I am wrong, the highest age group between 45 and 64, and then the 75 and older, I think about, especially the 45 to 64, the stresses that are involved in that age. We are trying to get our life in order so that we can retire. You know, we have worries about our children and our grandchildren. And then, as if that's not bad enough, our health generally starts ganging up on us, and stuff starts going wrong. And I have to wonder if that's a cause, one of
I
the
don't wonder.
causes anyway.
I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
don't wonder. Mm.
So I'm not
I
thinking wrong, evidently. And then
You're
I'm
not wrong.
wondering about like the 75 and older, if it's because of a lot of health issues
Health
again,
issues and
and
pain and nobody being that they don't help them. They just, "Oh, they're 75. We're not gonna waste resources," and I'm sorry, I work in the medical
yeah.
field. That is absolutely what they see and say.
Mhm. I was reading on for another subject that I was doing, but it fits
Mhm.
here, um, that it was talking about cancer, actually, and it was talking
And
about
that's the
cancer
worst.
patients, yeah, that are 75 and older, that it's considered palliative care,
It is.
not to cure it.
Yes.
And so that in of itself is very depressing, to just think that they're not going to try, because I know that at one point in my journey, they talked about palliative care. And then luckily I went into remission, but they were
Thank God.
saying, you know, that was, thank God. But, they were saying that that would be a potential next step, not necessarily the final step, but that would you know, something we would be looking into. And so I think about that a lot with the 75 and older age group, and it breaks my heart, because and I know just from, visiting a lot of my elderly relatives, either in their homes or in some sort of a care facility, that so many never have visitors.
Oh
And
gosh,
how does that mess with your mind? I mean, what do they
Suzy.
it
I
has to
did
be
that.
horrible.
I did something on that, I think last week or the week before. My
Mhm,
mods probably know which one it is. But I don't remember. That's
mhm.
what brain fog does for you. Um,
Yeah.
but I did one on that. Um, I
It's just
ha have a hard
awful.
time talking.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I can't imagine not visiting my elder family members or elder friends or whatever.
Gonna check
If
off.
I go a couple of days without my seeing my dad, who lives at home, he's in great health, he's got all of his faculties and everything. I mean, he's in better health than I am, bless his heart. And but if I don't hear from him, I start worrying. Or if I don't see him, out and around, or see his front door open, because he likes to leave his door open and let the fresh air in this time of year whenever before it gets too hot. And, if I don't see those kind of signs, then I get worried, and so far, it's always been for nothing. But how do people just
But
forget?
keep doing it. Keep doing it.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
that's how I feel about that. I have people that no one ever checks on. I have residents that's been in my facility since
Mm,
2004, and
mm,
they've never had a visitor one day in 21 years. So we're their family. We
mm.
They go on hospice, I stand beside them, they never leave this world alone, I'm holding their hand, and I don't care if it takes 1 week, 2 weeks, when they start going down, I just
Mhm.
pack my bags, and Daryl already knows that I'm, head of our hospice
Yeah.
program. I'm gonna be gone until whenever, because when they get to the point, then the nurse lets me know it's you need to come. And I go and I sit until it's over, and they will never be alone when they leave this world, ever.
Yeah.
Not my residents. I don't It's just not gonna happen because they see things that we don't. I've been
Absolutely.
Too many of them have been there, and, I seen every one of them looking just and talking, and then I read the book Crossing the Creek,
Mhm.
and when I read that, I had such a peace and understanding
Mhm.
more about it, but that book, and
Mm.
it's not even a book, it's well, it is, but I mean, it's free, and you can read it on the internet, but it's
Mhm.
Crossing the Creek, and it's very informative. What I was going through with all of my residents, just because they have been there so long, they're elderly, life was precious anyway, and they only had I mean, they start going down when they start going down, and they signed a DNR, out of hospital DNR, we support them.
Mhm.
So
Man.
that's why I can see the older, because
Yeah.
they don't have a
Absolutely.
place to go like us. They are alone, and they don't wanna be alone.
Yeah. Here in Tulsa, we've had in just the recent, like, less than a year, we've had 3 cases that turned out to be it was a murder
Wow,
unaliving, but it was older couples, and they were from very affluent neighborhoods, all of them, that you would have thought that
wow.
they were living their golden years, really, and
As
yet
should be.
we come to find out that they're not. So, here's another little on there, the LGBTQ plus and youth are at a significantly higher risk, with more than 40% seriously considering it, according
Yes,
to the Trevor Project's 2023 national survey. Veterans, indigenous communities, and rural residents are also disproportionately affected.
yes.
And religion can be a protective factor, but experiences vary. Some religious communities reduce risk through belonging and support, while others may increase risk if they continue to stigma or rejection, especially for LGBTQ plus individuals. I know that I grew up Baptist, and it was just strictly, a no-no that, it was like the
Yeah,
sin that couldn't get
right.
past kind of deal.
Yeah,
Unforgivable sin
the
and everything.
unforgivable
And
sin.
yeah, and
Right
I
there with
just,
you.
I think that is again man religion.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't believe that, as a believer, and I don't wanna go into all the religious parts of it, but
No, I
since
got
it is on the board, you know, I do wanna say that I think that that's one of the things where I think God is much more aware and forgiving and in tune with what's going on. He knows what is
He
going
knows
on in
the
our
amount of hair
lives.
on our head. So,
Absolutely. And so I just don't believe it. I don't believe that there is just nothing you can do. I don't believe it. Because I do believe that it is a mental illness, and the key word being illness,
some
and that's
some
not
people
something that you can
some people do it, though,
help.
just there's some people that don't have a mental illness. They do it
Yeah.
for for different reasons, and men usually do it away from. Now, this is usually. I didn't use the word always, but
Yeah.
they don't tell anybody. They get everything in order.
Yeah.
They go somewhere where their kids or their families are not going to find all of that.
Yeah.
Women, on the other hand, and this is my opinion, although I read it
Mhm.
and it is fact, but I'm going to use it as my opinion.
Yeah.
Um, wi- is that women, um, sometimes it's an accident because having borderline, um, if you have borderline personality disorder, they don't mean it's the most dangerous one. They do not mean to do that. They don't mean for them to not live, but they will go as far as they have to go to get your attention. And then they go too far and they're gone.
Mhm.
And that, I
Mhm.
mean, that's how borderline personality disorder works. So
Absolutely.
watching, like the ones in my facility, they are watched closely, especially like example, when she goes and beats her head on the concrete till she bleeds, till somebody has to give her attention.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah, personality disorders are not my favorite thing to deal with, but I mean, it is what it is.
Mhm.
But if they make all these
Yeah.
plans, they have a plan, they have everything the way they're going to do it, they set everything up. Men are more likely to do it away, and women are more likely. And I'm going to say vain, and I'm probably going to get 1,000 mean comments for that. But
No, but
I
I
think
mean
women are vain and they want to be seen, so it ends up where anybody, where they can find, unlike
Mhm.
the man who doesn't want to be seen. See, my
Mhm.
brother-in-law did the same thing. My baby sister, she walked out into
Mhm.
the garage and found it.
Mm.
So, I mean, we've had quite a few. My dad,
Wow.
so my adopted dad, yeah. So
Yeah. So let's see
I
what this
just think,
next slide is. Okay, this is a good one.
yeah.
Key reasons that preteens may die by their own hand. Hold on, and I'm also going to pull it up on my iPad because I can't figure out how to move it around.
Oh,
So anyway, I'm going to have to read out the last little bit of this one. So okay, key reasons that preteens and teens may die of their own hand. Mental health struggles. Most the most common underlying is mental illness, especially depression,
mhm,
anxiety disorders, bipolar, trauma-related disorders, which is PTSD, and substance use disorders. Mental illness in children can be hard to recognize, especially if it's mistaken for teen moodiness or acting out. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, here's where your grandson would come in. Bullying or peer rejection, not necessarily rejection, but peer pressure.
pressure.
So,
That's a good idea.
yeah, bullying, especially
Cyberbullying.
cyberbullying, but I think of that as pressure also, not just
Absolutely.
bullying, has been directly linked to youth unaliving themselves. Children who are targeted for their appearances, race, disability, or identity, especially LGBTQ plus youth, are at a slightly higher risk.
Yeah.
And it also says, um, hold on, be nice if I get on the right page. Social exclusion or humiliation can feel unbearable at a time when fitting in matters so deeply. But that can
It
also
does.
be on the cyber pressures, the peer pressures. Like your grandson was feeling a pressure to, with this
The
pact that was
social I
going
think
on.
the social exclusion and humiliation
Yeah,
probably where he was at, even though those friends of his were all supposed to do it at the same time.
yeah. Wow. Ugh. Okay, so it also can go into family dysfunction or abuse, youth experiencing physical, emotional, or sexual abuse, domestic violence, or neglect may develop deep hopelessness. Parental divorce, custody battles, or exposure to addiction or mental illness at home can also contribute to emotional distress. Now,
I fit
I
in
want to,
every single one of those categories. Everything you just read, I literally have been through. and I still
Yeah.
try to be the best I can be today, better than yesterday, and tomorrow, I'll try to be better tomorrow than I was today.
Yeah. And so you can be helpful to people that also experience those because you can let them know that they aren't alone and they can let you know that you're not alone. In this
Especially
whole
being an
the
empath, it's like, oh,
oh, I know. In the whole the family dysfunction or abuse thing, I want to talk just a moment about my grandson, my oldest grandson. And he did not, thank God, do anything, but he contemplated it. And it was a situation where his dad, his biological father, who he and my sister or my daughter were married at the time, and they went through a divorce because of this. But he was just physically and emotionally abusive to my grandson and to my daughter. And then they were going through the divorce, the custody battles. I believe that his dad is mentally ill, you know. Um, but I remember what got the courts involved was my grandson said that he would rather unalive himself than go back to his dad's for a visit on the weekend. And they take real serious attention to that. I mean, all the people that my daughter was trying to really get to pay attention suddenly stood up and were paying attention. And he got he and his sister got a lot of counseling. It ended up that the dad is completely out of their life. He signed away his rights. They have been adopted by their
that is
dad.
ama that's good.
And, I mean, that's not the answer for every situation, but it was absolutely the best situation and answer to this situation. And this child going along with this whole and how okay, my point being is when we thought this is handled, he's a happy kid again, he's loved and safe and he doesn't have to see him anymore. We started noticing, and this was months, like even a year or more after the dad was completely legally everything completely out of the picture. This boy would be watching the driveway, he'd be doing this, we'd be
Oh my
outside or
goodness.
something. And he started where he wouldn't wanna go anywhere. He wouldn't wanna go out to eat with the family. He wouldn't wanna go to the mall or to Walmart or, anywhere
Okay,
anywhere that
that's
we
something to
went.
look at, yeah.
Yeah. What we found out was he finally said he came to me, and he's this big numbers kid, like, he's big into he's crazy smart, but mostly with numbers and statistics and, all that kinda thing.
Yeah.
And at this point, he was about probably 12, somewhere in there, about 12, 11 or 12. And he said to me, he said, "Grandma, what percentage of a chance do you think there is that his dad," he named him because he doesn't consider him his dad, but he named him,
Yeah.
"will come up here?" And I thought, "Oh my god, that's why he's constantly watching is he's afraid that he's gonna come here." And so I told him, I
That's
said, "I never say never because as soon as you do."
right.
But I said, "There is probably less than 0% of a chance that he's ever going to come up here, and he's not gonna like the reception he gets if he does, because he's not allowed to be here,
Right.
basically. And so, you need to stop worrying about it." And we really had to struggle, and we still do. He's 17 now,
Oh my
and we still have to struggle. He started being homeschooled because he did not want to go to school, and, in some ways, that was a blessing, and in other ways, a curse because that put him out around people even less, you know?
yeah.
But we keep an eye on him, and we keep an eye on his social media experiences because you just don't know, and when somebody's already
Oh,
got those concerns and everything, and then they start being quite the loner, which I get because I am too. We have kind of a history in our family of being kind of a loner. and it not being like a red flag, we just kind of like our peace and quiet, and so I think he's a lot like me in that, but it's worrisome when it's a child or, teen. But yeah, he's
Especially when
he's
you
much
happen to
better
see
now.
it.
Yeah, yeah, kids are so good at hiding things.
Yes, they are.
So I wanna go into some more of this where it says academic and social pressure.
Mhm.
Again, the social pressure sounds so much like your grandson. Some children internalize extreme pressure to perform, whether academically, socially, or athletically. Absolutely, in my grandson's case, athletically was a big deal because
That was ours too.
hi
He played baseball,
yeah, yeah, my, grandson's biological father was a college athlete, very good college athlete, is a coach, and he expected his children to perform above their age and above their ability just because they were his children. And that was, I mean, both of the kids are very good at sports, but
yeah.
it was never good enough. No matter how good they were, they should have been better. And one time he literally threw my grandson across the the room, the locker room because he
That's
didn't
so
perform as well as children 4 years older than him did. 4
oh,
years is a huge difference when you're
it's
talking
a
about a
big
ten-year-old. So yeah, I get that too. Okay, when they feel that they can't live up to expectations or that failure is unacceptable, they may feel trapped or worthless.
and where I
Again,
come in and tell them that do not make a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, identity conflicts, the LGBTQ plus youth are at a particular high risk, especially if they are rejected by their family or their faith
The faith,
communities.
absolutely.
Yeah. I
Ab
think that they are honestly more often feel like rejected by their faith than they do their
that is
family, which is still very high, but faith
their
is
faith, yeah,
so, and their faith community affects their family. And so I think that it all kind of, I mean, I keep saying I think, and I'm just talking about what I
no,
think.
you're
I'm
right.
not,
I mean, yeah, but
you know.
you're absolutely correct.
So it is so scary. It is, I mean, we want these kids to have faith, whatever that faith is. I'm
That's
not,
right,
trying to tell you what to have your faith
but
grounded in, but then it can be so harmful at the same time. I know that in my experience, I will never, ever, ever forget that the church that I ended up leaving for different reasons, but it all kind of culminated into one big reason. So, uh, anyway, the pastor that was there was actually a friend. He and his wife were good friends with my husband and I. We hung out with them. Our families did things together, the whole thing. Um, but he got on this kick where he was talking about things like divorce and unaliving yourself in a very shameful, shameful way. And I'm sitting there in the pew and I'm looking around at the people, not like staring at them, but just glancing around the room. And I mean, I'm not like, "Oh, look at them." But I mean, you know how you're just looking around. But anyway,
absolutely.
but I'm looking at the people there, including myself,
Uh-huh.
that was affected by divorce. And they were some of the biggest people in the church, not necessarily the deacons because, oh god, am I still on there? Yeah. I don't know what is going on with my, but anyway, my screen went completely black for a second. It's done that a couple times. But anyway, he was talking about how, just very not negatively.
Right.
And his wife's parents were divorced and she's sitting there listening to how it he was the way he was talking about it was that it like that it's not only them that are, terrible for having gotten a divorce, but that it affects the children, not in that it affects them by being depressed and upset about it, but like almost like that it affected their salvation. And I just wanted
That
to
is
go up there and
such a
slap
cracker
the
crap.
shit out of him. I know. I mean, I'm sitting in the pew and I'm his freaking secretary.
That's
And
crap.
I
Yep,
was
I'm with
like
you.
I was like, "That was not in the notes that I typed for you. What the hell
Right?
are you talking about?" And he would do the same thing with unaliving, and her brother and her dad ended up unaliving themselves
Oh
separately,
my
but. And I'm thinking, "How is she married to this man that is talking about her family members?"
because sometimes there's nowhere else to go.
Yeah, I know. And it just I don't know, it just really
I have several friends in this
it
community
broke
that are in the
me.
same position, and
Yeah,
they talk to me all the time that what I can't if they don't wanna go, I can't make them.
absolutely. Absolutely.
It breaks my
Oh,
heart.
yeah. So another one, we talked about the identity crisis of the LGBT community. I have a dear friend of mine who I'm trying to talk into coming on and talking. He could talk about several subjects, but he's in that community and he's been completely just disowned by his whole family.
Oh my
He
god.
went through conversion therapy at the hands of his church.
Okay, that is not okay.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not okay.
And so he has attempted to unalive himself, but he's in a good place now, and I thank God for that every day.
Yeah.
He he actually did not lose his faith. He kind of looks at it different than he did, where he was at then, as far as that specific church and everything, and trust me, so do I. It's a different church than I went to, but most of my family members actually go to that church and participated in his, you know,
Yeah,
counseling.
I had to drive
So
past I have to drive past the same church every
mm,
day. Well, I don't drive anymore, but I have to ride with
yeah.
whoever's riding driving Mrs. Daisy's turn. They'll come and get me, and I mean, I've went out like 3 or 4 times, gotten out of the house, and, we pass that church
Mhm.
every time I look at it, and I wanna throw up. It's so icky to me
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
when I was essayed from their it was my adopted dad when I was 2. They so I would have his last
Mhm.
name because him and my mom were married, and then my sister between them, she was pregnant with her. They wanted us to all have the last name.
Mhm.
I will never use that name again, number 1, but nobody heard me for 4 years, 5 years. I'm
Mm.
screaming to the top of my lungs, and all I was looked at as a bad kid.
Mm.
I did I'm just saying that because I don't wanna get in trouble. She's just a bad kid. I wasn't a bad in fact, I mean, I had a 4.0 all the way through law school. I'm not I'm not a bad kid, and I wasn't a bad kid, and that kid that's still inside of me was never a bad kid. That kid reacted to what was being done.
Mhm.
And the preacher, when I finally called my Sunday school teacher one night because I couldn't take it anymore after all these years, she picked me up, went to her house. I stayed the night, went to that church the next day, and I had to look at them just a smiling. I wanted to throw up right there, but my little brother came running.
Mm.
And before
Oh.
I could grab him, he uh, yeah, grabbed him and wouldn't let him and he was like, "Dad, I wanna go see Kiki."
Aw.
He went there and come to find out this last year, my brother had the same thing done to him this whole time. He's been in the Marines. His wife of 20 years
Mm.
divorced him, took his dog.
Mm.
It's not if you've got one in the family, don't bet that that's because my other 2
Yeah.
stepsisters came out and said that happened to them too. It
Oh
all
my
finally
goodness.
come out, and I don't have to get
Mm.
revenge, and I've forgiven him. But that church and that preacher that told me to keep my mouth shut, I don't need to hurt a good man's reputation. At 14
Yeah.
years old, what do you think?
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
My mom
Yeah,
ended up
whenever
so
whenever I go anywhere, anytime we leave, um, our house, the direction that we go, 9 out of 10 times I pass that church, and I always think about my friend going
Mhm.
which he didn't do his they did his conversion therapy at his home. So,
What did you
it wasn't actually yeah, it wasn't actually at
oh,
the church, but I still I mean, I'm sorry, but I hate that church because of that,
they
and,
should have never done that.
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
but they did it at his home, and so he
mm-mm.
never felt safe at home again.
Never, and I'm like you, I don't use the never and the always, but I would be like that. Never. My granddaughter moved out of her house. She will never live there again because of her brother in the living room.
Mhm, mhm,
So, it's just a lot. It's a lot, and kids
mhm.
have trauma and nobody's paying attention to their "Oh, they got
Yeah.
ADHD, let's go on some meds."
It's just she's just moody, she's it's
Absolutely.
hormones. Well,
How about let's
maybe
get
it
her to a counselor
is.
and find out what's wrong with her?
Yeah, but you know what? Those moody hormones can lead to them doing something.
Oh, yeah.
Y
What is it,
it's not
what is
it's
it?
not necessarily.
It's not y'all, come on, help me. It's it's a new diagnosis, but it's worse than, PMS. It's worse
Oh
than that.
gosh.
Do you know what I'm talking
Oh, wow.
about?
I don't know, uh-uh.
Y'all, my brain fog is a real thing today. It's
Aw.
something like PMS, but it's, like, worse, and the cramps are worse and all that stuff, and my daughter and my granddaughter has it, and I can't
Mm,
remember what it's called, but it's worse than anything we could imagine, as they put it.
mhm, mm. Anyway, I just
PMDD, I knew my little wrench would get it. She's so quick. Thank you, Arya.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Hey, Nova. Yeah, it is PMDD. That right
So we
there,
have
bad.
yeah. Yeah. So we have number 6 is impulsivity and underdeveloped coping skills. The adolescent brain is still developing,
It is.
particularly in areas that manage impulse control and decision making. And the thing is that goes to what, like 25 or 26, somewhere in there before our
Okay,
brains actually,
20
you
it
know.
is they can't be diagnosed with anything like a personality disorder if
Mhm.
until they're over 18.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if their brain's still developing until they're 22, I don't think we should be able to have to they don't need to be
Yeah.
labeled until they're where they're gonna be.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then some need to be labeled at 4 or 5 years old.
Absolutely.
Eh,
It says a unaliving thought, especially under stress or emotional pain, can become an impulsive act in the absence of coping strategies. And our kids just so often don't have those strategies. And that's why we have to monitor our kids online. We absolutely have to. It's part of our job. And they are going to get pissed. They are going to get mad about it. They're going to feel, all the feels. But I think that if you start from the beginning and not just jump in one day, of course, if you haven't started from the beginning, you're gonna have to just jump in one day. But, to future generation, start at the beginning. Always monitor those situations, and that way it's not so, like, challenging to the child, it's
oh, they
not
don't think
so.
they're just sneaking up and
Yeah. And don't, if you can keep from it, don't do it as a sneaking thing. Make it that it is clear that this is what's going on. This is just part of it. I
Suzy,
mean,
that's
it's
great
just
advice.
part of, it's just part of your thank you. It's
That's
part of
great
the rules.
advice.
It is part of the well, I did that with my girls. I said, "Now listen, I'm not saying I'm going to do it, but if I walk up behind you and I glance at that screen and you click off of that screen, then
Right.
we're going to have problems. I'm not going to read your diaries. I'm not going to, I'm not going to like try to invade your every thought. But I am if I know something's wrong, I'm not going to stop my the one daughter. What's wrong? Nothing. Yeah, well, anytime you go, nothing. Something's wrong.
Nothing, or they hide that computer screen, or they hang up the phone.
Mhm.
These are red flags.
And so I would not rest. I wouldn't let it go. I we might kind of skirt around the topic for a little bit or like do something else where it wasn't just me standing there saying, "What's going on? I wanna know now," but
Yeah.
I didn't let it rest. I always made them talk to me and made them tell me what was going on, and it ended up a lot of times with a lot of tears, but it also ended in hugs, and now they're glad that I was, kind of
They have
aggressive with
plenty
my
of friends. They
parenting.
don't need friends, they need a mom.
Yeah. I used to say I was an aggressive parent, but I didn't mean that like, like angry or whatever. I meant it like that I went into it like, "I'm your mom,"
That's
and
how you
yeah,
that's
you know, we
you
can
got plenty
laugh
of
and cut
friends.
up and do all that, but
Yeah.
I'm your mom, and I'm sorry, but my rules my rules are what matters, and I'm gonna look at that screen if
Anytime
I
I've
want
heard,
to.
"My house, my rules."
Yeah.
I've heard that so much.
Yeah. I know when my daughter moved back in with us when she went through her divorce and she moved in with her kids, I remember one time I said, "Do you remember when you were a kid?" And I said, "My house, my rules." She's like I'm like, she was like 20 something years old then, like in her late 20s, and I'm like, "I don't care." You know? You're not
Age
gonna
don't mean
go
a thing.
no, you're not gonna stomp off into the other room and slam the door or whatever like a child and not be treated like a child.
Don't take my phones away and I might not be a jerk. My
Yeah.
mom. I I love my mom, but when I had to go in the hospital, she takes my phone.
She would take your phone. I was, like, cracking up.
I
Mark
get on
would
my
be like,
iPad and put the movie
"Under
up
the
over.
covers, under the co"
Well,
you're, like,
I kinda was
hiding.
committing a felony there. I told my mods to keep me protect me from myself. It
Mhm.
was supposed to have I posted it. Oh my god. I was on some major drugs, Ivy. That was not
Yeah,
my fault.
yeah. Mark would be
It was
like,
a
"Have you heard
how-to
from"
video.
yeah, "Have you heard from Keela today?" And I'm like, "No, her mom took her phone. I'm waiting for
So
her to let me know she's got it back." I'd carry that I'd carry my phone around with me and wait for that ding. I'd be like, "Oh, Keela's got her phone."
and my mom would not she go outside and she didn't realize I had my iPad open to the so I just put the YouTube page up or something or a news, just put
Mhm.
something up there. And that way when she walked out that door, I clicked back over, I was texting everybody.
But if you're doing this, so are our teens. So are our
And
kids, and
thank
that's
you. I'm
what
51. If
yeah,
I'm doing this,
then those kids
think
are
about
too.
exactly, Susie. All right, I don't let
Mhm.
her commit anymore. I didn't
Yeah,
realize it was a
please.
felony. I was like, y'all take it off, take it down. Oh,
Aw. Mm. Anyway, so let's see what's on the next one.
this is really good information.
I thought so too.
Really is.
Um, it says what we can do, listen without judgment, create a safe space where kids can feel heard even if you don't understand everything. Take warning signs seriously, including talk of feeling hopeless, changes in behavior, withdrawal, or giving away possessions. Yeah.
That's the big one.
Yeah, giving away
I start
possessions,
giving
that
stuff
really
away.
yeah, I've seen that happen.
I, that's the main one.
Talk about self-unaliving directly and calmly, asking about it won't put the idea in their head. It may be the first time that they feel safe enough to speak. Get professional help if there are signs of depression, anxiety, or trauma. Early intervention saves lives. Buil
988.
Yes,
Sorry.
988. Build protective factors. Let me see if I can yeah, here we go. Um, okay.
Yes.
Support networks, healthy routines, absolutely. Strong identity, involvement
Yeah.
in positive activities, and access to mental health care. I think that
Absolutely.
one's huge. I really
That's
do. I think that that is huge.
absolutely. And sometimes
And
people don't have a way out or anyone to talk to, and when they start having these thoughts and
mhm,
planning them, just dial 988 if there's no one else, just dial
yeah,
988.
absolutely. I do have these support and resources numbers here. I will also be putting those um, in my community page, and I'm sure Keela's got those on hers. If not, she's welcome to these.
I
send
really
these
like
to
this.
you.
Yeah, I have some resources about this is really neat, Susie, because I mean, NAMI is who we work with. That's who went and wrote the legislation for our type of company. The head of NAMI
Mhm,
and my mom. They
mhm.
got the legislation passed and
Wow.
to govern places like ours because there can be some that just get them there and abuse them and take their money. You have no idea how many
Yeah.
we got from there. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So, yeah,
So
we do
yes,
have the 988 suicide and crisis
988. Mhm.
lifeline, um,
I should have worn my 988 shirt.
and it is I know, I didn't wear mine either, and it's available 24/7. There's a crisis text line. You text "hello" to 741-741, and again, I will put these,
Yeah,
I
I
was
really
gonna
like
send
it.
it to Mischief to put in the chat, and I didn't do it. That was one of the things that I brain fogged on. The Trevor Project is for LGBTQ plus and youth. So there is that information. Society for Prevention of Teen Suicide, and there's that. And also the one you were talking about, National Alliance on Mental
NAMI.
Illness, NAMI.
Mhm.
Mhm. And so
They're a
those are
huge
some.
resource.
Yeah. And again, I will be putting those in my community post. It just says posts on my page. I think those are extremely, extremely important. I really do. And I did some research on all of those, and they all seem like
But
legitimate good places.
there's a difference between, there's a difference between needing somebody to talk to just because you have a problem and you say you don't have anybody.
Yeah.
988 doesn't call the cops on you. They don't do all that in case or they unless they feel that you
Mhm.
are going to hurt yourself. If
Yeah,
they
it's
can talk
imminent, yeah.
there, yes, that is the best line to call. You're gonna get someone that's trained in mental health, uh,
Absolutely.
we're all, mental health first aid,
Mm,
and, they're all required to have that, and they know what to do to talk somebody down,
mhm.
and if they can't, they will send the correct people to their house.
Mm. It's just I yeah, I'm real big into the 988 one because and it is
Mhm.
available 24/7.
Yes.
So, that one is a huge, huge benefit. Okay, so then we have, um, talking about approaching the topic. So, don't just ignore it. It is good to talk to them about it. Again, you're not gonna put the idea in their head if it wasn't there.
No.
And they may they may be like, "No, really, no." And they may absolutely mean that, and we can do that, but you might get a yes. You might get that yes. And so, there's just ways to approach it, and this one says general principles for any age. Again, I'm gonna move that over 'cause,
I like this picture.
I'm learning this stuff.
I
So,
like
number
I
1
like
is stay calm and present. Your tone matters. Even if you're scared, try to speak gently and without panic. You want them to feel you want them to feel safe, not shamed or overwhelmed. I think that's a good one just to stay calm. I mean, it's fine for them to know that you care enough to speak about it, but try to stay don't be like, "Oh my god, are you considering," just be like, you know, "Are you
the
considering
the further
this?
you
Is this in
talk,
your head?"
the more they wanna
Yeah.
hear. They'll calm down.
Mhm. Yeah, we were told that I have a nephew that his counselor actually said that whenever he would go into these rages when he was a child, he lost his mother when he was 2 years old.
Mm,
My sister, she died from a
I'm sorry.
seizure from that, Fin diet.
Oh
So,
god.
yeah. So, anyway, he had a lot of anger. He had a lot of anger, still does. He's getting close to 40 now. But he he had a rough time for a while, and he would go into these rages, and, totally understandable, but the counselor said, "Don't try to yell above him, talk below him, talk under him." And it would work every time, and so even
Baby.
now,
Calm down.
even
Yeah.
if I'm, with somebody that's just like even it's funny, I try to pull the same thing even in, like, a text or, like,
Mhm.
a comment when somebody you can tell they're just, like, railing at me, they're just like they're just like
Yes. So,
over the top. And I will try to just like calm down and talk, even though it's a text or a comment, I try to bring it down to a place that is where they have to pay attention to what I'm saying. Even though it's not a volume, it can be an actual tone,
tone.
even in writing. It
And
can
so I
be how
tell them,
you
you
talk
can't
about
read
it.
tone you can't read tone in text, but being an empath, I can't say
Yeah.
that. I know when that
Yeah.
text comes through what tone it's in.
Yeah, I do too.
So,
And
yeah, so it's
so you just have to that's what I do is I
right.
just try to talk in more of a soothing manner, and sometimes I feel y'all have seen some of my replies where I just there's been a couple times I've just been like, "F you," you know?
Hey,
But it's usually after they have, like, attacked many times, it's just, like, after they've said 6 or 8 things, and I've just sat and been quiet or tried to be, calm about it. But anyway, back to this, I'm sorry. Whole other
oh,
subject. So, yeah, number 1, stay calm and present. Number 2, pick a private, comfortable time. Avoid rushing into the conversation. Choose a quiet moment when you can both talk openly without distractions. Yeah, I think that if you're like looking like this, to see what was that noise, who just came in the door, you don't want to do it at the mall.
no, you
You
wanna
want to
make sure
pick,
you eye contact with them so
yes.
they know that they're being seen and you're not like this.
Yeah.
You your
Yeah.
arms, you have this just sitting comfortable position, so it makes them comfortable and more likely to
Mhm.
engage in a conversation.
Mm. Wow. Use direct and caring language. It's a myth that asking about unaliving plants the idea. In fact, it shows that you care and gives them permission to speak honestly.
Absolutely.
I think that that's huge too. I think they're all huge. Everyone I'm reading, I'm like, wow,
It
that's
is.
important. But they are all important. And so, I think that this is like something, I think that this general principles is something that we could like clip and save in
Anybody.
our wallet or our Bible
Yeah.
or something in case the time comes along, and it would give you like, sort of guidelines to go by. It also says number 4, listen more than you speak. Let them talk.
Mhm.
Validate their feelings without immediately jumping into solutions and advice.
Absolutely
I
correct.
think that would be huge, and I'm this is probably my hardest because I wanna fix everything. Like, if somebody's upset, I mean, like, okay, for instance, when you were in the hospital, I was
Mhm.
trying everything that I could to figure out how I could get down there so that I could, like, even just take your mom out for coffee or
I
something,
know.
give you
It
some time, give her some time, all of it. When And people will believe or not, but whenever the long con video came out and
mhm.
Reese was crying on the screen and everything, I was literally, as I'm watching it, on my computer and my phone getting a hold of relatives that live close to her to get them to go get her and the dogs and the cats and everything and get them to somebody else who would then get them to somebody else who would then get them to me, even though we're not speaking. We are not friends at all,
But
but
your heart is
somehow I felt that I could fix it. So whenever I read this, you know, listen more than you speak, and then without immediately jumping into solutions and advice, that is my major downfall. I want to fix it for everybody. I don't care who you are, if I like you, don't like you, or what. I want to fix it. And I wanna give you advice. Sometimes good advice, sometimes sucky advice, but mostly not so much advice as I just wanna fix it. And maybe it's not gonna fix the whole thing, but I'm gonna fix it right now, like
and
today.
most of them just wanna be heard. They don't want you
Yeah,
to say a word, they just want an out.
yeah,
And then
absolutely.
if you're in that place right there, like they're talking to you and you see something that is of concern, I
Mhm.
would put it in your head, but I would not say anything to them. Let them just and if they've got a
Yeah.
plan, a list, they give if
Oh,
just
yeah.
being emotional, saying, I'm gonna do this to myself. No, 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 no. See, I don't fall for that because
Yeah.
you're gonna have a plan. It's gonna be, here's your plan. I've there's in the mental health field anyway, there's a big, huge difference between screaming you're gonna do it and actually getting ready to do it or doing it.
Mm,
Some want attention, some are so quiet and you never know.
yeah. Yeah. So avoid judgment or criticism. Don't say things like, you have so much to live for, but your life is great. These can feel dismissive. Instead, say, I'm sorry you're hurting. I'm here for you.
That's right.
Yeah. Isn't that the first thing that we think of? Why would they do that? They were 13 years old.
Yeah,
Why would they do that? They had a perfect life. I've got one of my best friends
far
from
from
high
perfect.
school. Her, one of her twin daughters unalived herself just a few years ago. And this girl, you would have thought that she had a charmed life. You really would. She was so loved and so well taken care of and so beautiful and smart. All the things that we think, well, she would never do that. And they struggled with her mental health and her, you know, wanting to do this for years. And she, they knew it. They had constant watch of her as much as they could. I mean, she was an adult. There's only so much you can do, but they did as much as they could, and they did everything right. Everything I've read said they did everything right. And I want people to understand, and it's even on one of these slides that I'm gonna find somewhere, that it says you can do everything right and it can still happen.
Mhm.
And so you can't blame yourself for that. It's so
The
anyway,
worst
I'm gonna
part of
check
it
this
is,
next one.
oh, go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
I was just say
Go
the
ahead, the
worst
next
part
one.
of it is when you see your daughter's world falling apart and you can't do anything to help
Absolutely.
her.
I cannot imagine. I
You can't take the
absolutely
pain away.
mm-mm. And that's what we do as moms. We fix things, you
And there
know.
was no way to fix her. Just, I mean, I kept
Mm-mm.
myself in check because I had to.
Mhm.
Don't think I didn't lose it.
Absolutely.
Oh, I lost it, but not
Oh,
there.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
couldn't stand watching my daughter hurt. That was the worst. So,
Yeah. Now we have things that you need to hear. This would be the person or people left behind, okay? And this is gonna go into we're talking a little bit about it now. You were just talking about, the aftermath. And so this is kind of went into perfect timing. So, it says you are not responsible for someone else's decision. I think that that is huge for us to hear. Unaliving themselves is complex. It can be mental illness, trauma, hopelessness, and emotional pain can often cloud the thinking of the person who died. Even if you were the last person they spoke to or you didn't return their last call, you did not cause this.
do not.
I think that's huge.
Okay, grief. I mean, not grief. I'm sorry. Grief's the price we pay for love. But feeling guilty, guilt is a useless emotion. I will keep telling people that for as long as I live. Guilt
Yeah.
is a useless emotion. What can you do with it? Can you change it? No.
Yeah.
It's it's literally a useless emotion that you spend so
Mhm.
much of your time on that you actually could get through or around that part and find something that, like, there's all those 5 stages of grief, you go in and out, but the guilt is just
Mhm.
throw it away.
Yeah.
Throw it away. Get it out of your mind because it's not your fault. Even if it is your fault, guilt, you can't go back and change it.
Yeah, you can't change it. What are you gonna do? I mean,
I'm not mean,
ultimately, it was their decision.
and I'm not
Ultimately
trying to be mean at all like that. It's
no, no,
just
no.
guilt. Even the guilt over, "Oh, I didn't use the rocking chair correctly," or I mean, just something like that. Don't
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
guilty. It's useless.
Well, my aunt, this was not a self-unaliving situation, but with my cousin that passed Monday, the one that lives next door. He lives with his mom, I mean, and he's, like, 55 years old. but he moved in to help her after his dad passed, and, it was a bad time. His dad passed, his sister had a late term miscarriage where she was
Oh,
right up
God.
to due date and had a miscarriage, and the mom did not handle that well. It was awful. And so he moved in to help the mom. She's got a large, very large yard. She's in her 70s, late 70s, not able to do all of it herself. And so it's not like he's the son in the basement kind of a deal. He had a job, he had a life, he's got children, he's got grandchildren, but he did live with his mom. But yesterday when we were there, I was there when the EMTs and everybody got there. I was in the room with her and him and his sister. And the grief and the guilt that the mom felt, and she was just going on and on and on about that he hadn't felt well the day before, and that she shoulda checked on him sooner that day, that he hadn't got out of bed all day, and that she shoulda checked on him and all this stuff. And I said, "You can't do this to yourself." So even I think a lot of these things, why I'm bringing this up, is that even if it wasn't due to a self-unaliving situation, grief still does these same things to you. It's
Yeah.
just that it's the self-aliving is a whole other layer of it. And and so, but I think, that's what I kept telling her yesterday was that you weren't gonna change anything. He was obviously laying there watching TV. He looked like he was just laying there watching TV and fell asleep, and I said, "What were you gonna do? If you'd have looked in the room, you would not have seen him in any kind of distress. You would have seen him laying there watching TV, and he'd probably been like, 'Mom, leave me alone. I'm fine.'" you know, "I'm fine. Leave me alone." So what was she gonna do? But, our minds just do these tricks to us, and I think that whenever it is a case of somebody that has unalived themselves, that it has to be even more so, that especially if you were the last person that talked to them, or that you didn't return their last call. When my sister passed, we were arguing, and I had hung up on her, and she died 2 hours later. Now, it wasn't she didn't unalive herself, it was a um, forgot the seizure caused by this medication, but I still to this day carry this guilt. And so I'm here to tell you, and I know that Keela is too, it is a
I
useless, just like she said, it is a
you
useless emotion. You didn't
sorry,
cause it.
I apologize. This is my physical therapist. I thought I heard somebody out there a while ago. My dogs are going crazy, and he said I didn't answer
Oh,
my phone because,
oh,
no, he just said, I drove by to make sure you're okay. That's how
oh,
much they care
yes. Do
about
you
an
need to
entire.
go?
No, no, no. He just said,
Oh, okay.
we'll talk more later. The last person I saw was close by, and I wanted to make sure you're okay.
Aw, that is so sweet. Now
Yeah,
see, that is so sweet.
people
Number
do still
2
care
is
about people somewhere.
oh, yeah, absolutely. So number 2 says it's okay to ask why, even if there is no clear answer. Trying to make sense of it is part of healing. You may never fully understand what led your loved one to that moment, but asking questions doesn't mean you're stuck. It means you're human. So
That's
yeah,
right.
I get that
Yeah.
because sometimes we don't want to ask why. It's like we kind of brush it under the rug. We don't want to talk about it. I don't
And
know.
sometimes, there's not a why,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
and
But
that's hard to accept, but sometimes there's not a why.
yeah. And we are people as humans, we want clear answers.
Exactly.
So, absolutely. Okay, it says you're allowed to talk about it. Self-unaliving is still surrounded by stigma, and
Absolutely.
talking openly with safe people or in supportive places can lift the weight off of your chest. Speaking their name doesn't make it worse. It honors their life. I believe that with any kind of a
At
death.
times, but
It doesn't upset me when somebody mentions my sister or my mom. It makes me happy. I wanna talk about them, and I think, my friend that her daughter unalived herself, they talk about her all the time. Like, you know, they name her, of course, and say, "She would have been so excited over this," or, "Can you imagine what she would have said about that or thought of this," or something. And it's not like that they're delusional, they're not delusionally keeping her, involved, but they do still keep her involved to an extent, that they remember her, that she's not just gone, and that they don't just remember her for how she left. They remember
Yeah.
her for how she was here, how she lived, not just how she died. And that's just I think I don't know, I just think it's beautiful that they're able to do that. So, and
I'm
then the
trying to find
last
this to send to you.
oh gosh.
Oh my gosh, no, it's like
Is it something to put up on the screen or
yeah, people probably already know what it is. It's just it's a poem, and it's "Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am
Oh,
not there."
yeah.
Yeah.
If nothing else, just send it to me and I will put it in
Yeah,
with
I'll do
with
that.
the other stuff. That'll be great. So, yeah, send that
Okay.
to me. So,
It's
the
great.
last one on
It's really
here
great poem.
oh, it is beautiful. In fact, I've heard that recited at some actual funerals or
Yeah,
memorial services, and I think it's
absolutely.
beautiful. It says, "Joy is not betrayal. Smiling again, laughing again, living again. These are not signs that you've forgotten them. They are signs that you're carrying them forward in a way that honors their memory and your own life." Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what we try to do with my sister, even though she didn't unalive herself, but that's what my friend is doing with her daughter. I think that that is huge to do that, to bring them along with you, to not forget them, not ignore that they lived. Just, but don't live only in their death because that's just going to bring you down and then we're going to be having to worry about you too, which
I
is
have
something that happens a lot.
that joy is not betrayal. It's
Mhm.
not. I don't know how else to say it,
Absolutely.
but we go through grief. It's the price we pay for love. If you didn't go through grief, then you didn't love, and that's a sad existence.
Mhm.
So really is. But
Absolutely.
I did feel bad about laughing and smiling, but
I
then
know.
I mean, it really is. It's hard, and like I say on my channel, we can do hard things. That's one of the hardest,
Absolutely.
and they want you to keep on living. It wasn't you that your life ended. There's a
Yeah.
big picture, and we don't understand all of it.
Mhm.
So I've learned to laugh and smile and talk about him, and just because I
Yeah.
know he's okay now. I finally got to accept him.
Mm. I cannot imagine, whenever I think about you and your daughter, and it
No,
being
that's
a
what I can.
13-year-old, it just absolutely devastates me to think of these kids and the situation with your grandson where it was a pact. It wasn't
Yeah,
even that he was, you know, in such a bad place or whatever. It was that these kids, I don't think that they understand the finality
there you
of
go.
it,
There
you
you
know.
go. Thank you, Susie, for saying that. They do not. It's
Yeah.
a like I said, it's a permanent solution to a temporary problem,
Yeah.
and they don't
Oh,
realize how temporary that little problem is. I mean,
yeah.
if you can lay your head down, know that we love you, know that everything's going to be okay, and then not have them because they did a permanent solution, and that temporary problem would have went away.
Mm,
So
goodness.
it's pretty tough.
Yeah. So we've got this next one. I've just got this one, I think, and one
Oh
more.
my
So this is
god,
another I am big on listing places. I'm gonna put
Susie, I
these in
have
the
all this, but I don't have it like you do. I like the way you have this laid out. This is amazing.
I'll send it to you. How's that? I'll
Oh,
send it, and that
please,
way
this
you
is
can just have
amazing.
it.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I'll tell you where I got it. I asked for, sources and,
Uh-huh.
help resources into that, chat GPT or
Yeah.
whatever that is, or yeah, that.
Oh, I know. I use them all the time.
And they listed all of it up for me. I was so shocked. I use them to make pictures, but I had no idea that I could get, like, all these resources, and I was, like, struggling trying to find these places, and I thought, "I'm gonna see if it would tell me," and it just, like, within less than a minute, I had all these places, and I was like, "Wow, that was a lot easier."
To save the awareness voices of
Uh-huh.
education, we've been part of that
Yeah.
to
So
help with that.
Alliance for Hope
Uh,
for Suicide
yeah.
Loss Survivors, um, SAVE that you were talking about, yeah. The Dougie Center, it has programs for children's, teens, and families grieving any type of loss, including
Yeah.
self-unaliving. The Trevor Project is for the
Yes.
LGBTQ plus. I got that all wrong, but you know who I'm talking about. And
Yeah,
youth
theirs
and
is really the
families
youth.
seeking
Yeah.
Christ. Yeah. Mental health resources and community understanding, and also the Veterans Crisis
Yes.
Hotline. So, yeah, that one.
That is the
Uh,
most that's the one that I mean, if you wanna start looking at statistics.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It is scary. It is so scary. I'm trying to mark a few of these questions that I wanna to get to too, as I'm going. So if I kinda seem like I'm staring off to the side, that's what I'm
Oh,
doing.
I
And
know,
then
I
we
was over
have
here looking
oh,
on my other
this was actually supposed to have gone a while ago with some of the reasons why that children or preteens and teens do that. I got them in the wrong order.
Oh, I don't
But
care, I
anyway,
like
number
it.
7 is social media and exposure to,
Yeah,
self-unaliving. Media portrayal of suicide, especially when glamorized or dramatized, can contribute to what is called suicide contagion, a
okay,
rise
now I've never heard
in
that before.
behavior. Yeah, following exposure to another person's unaliving themselves, including online. Teens who
Mm,
spend excessive time on social media can also be more vulnerable to comparison, harassment, and feelings of inadequacy.
that's a true
Yeah,
statement.
I had heard it, but not in a lot of discussion about the whole suicide contagion thing.
There's, yeah,
But
that's
yeah, but I found that very, very interesting, and I do wanna do a little bit more research on it. I kind
I
of
really
found this
like
one
that.
that's why it's off by itself, is that I by the time I got to this, I had
Yeah,
studied the other stuff and ran out of time. So, anyway, I'm just like, it is it is crazy that this is such it's almost a epidemic portions, I think, proportions at this
you're
point.
right about
It's
that.
so prevalent in our society that you know, I don't know. It's like we don't
It
even
it's
think about
sad
it that
because
much, you know?
the only time they care about it that much is if we have something like that and, something with a school or public outing or
Mhm.
something, and then they
Yeah.
take and the first single thing and I know everybody on my channel is probably sick of hearing this, but the very first thing they do on the news station is, "Oh, it was a mental health. It was they have a mental health."
Yes.
When
Yeah.
actually, let the story come out and they didn't have a mental health, but do you
Yeah.
see them getting back on there saying, "We apologize, it
No.
wasn't." That's why the stigma is still here. Sorry I got passionate about that, but that's the truth.
Yeah, no, I understand that. In fact, I'm doing a whole show next week, and I may see if you wanna come on. I'll get with you because, again,
Okay.
it's a mental health show, and that's one of the points that I'm gonna make during this show is that
Mm,
in things like, mass unalivings,
yes.
be it a school or a post office or, wherever, a music event, whatever, the
Mhm.
first thing they do is grab onto the mental illness thing, and that's
They
not
do,
always the case, and
but
this
they
thing that
never
I'm gonna
come back.
go into talks about that there is a difference. I mean, and obviously, the person is not right, you know, there's something not right, but they can just be bad people, and it's not always that it is an actual mental illness, and there are mental illnesses that contribute to you being a bad person. But it's
There
just like that it's the way they label it, it's like that it's the same as somebody that's depressed or the same, that of somebody that's just just your
No.
normal that we have all that so many of us have, those kind of
There's
mental
major
illnesses
depressive
and
disorder.
yeah.
There's seasonal, depressive disorder. Then you're gonna slip on over to there's borderline, histrionic,
Mhm.
narcissist, and then there's antisocial
Yeah.
personality disorder. That is where you get your sociopaths, your psychopaths from the antisocial personality disorder
Mhm.
because they've kind of combined them all now. But all those are like an X. And, you put it
Yeah.
first one is going to be the worst is the borderline personality disorder, and people don't
Mhm.
understand that. That is first because
No.
they don't
Yeah.
mean to carry it that far, but to get your attention, they'll do something and mess up
Yeah.
and it goes through, and that's not what they meant at all. They just wanted someone's attention. Bad in a
Yeah.
bad way, but still, it happens.
Mhm.
So that's the most dangerous one of
Absolutely.
all.
Oh, goodness. I just
Yeah,
I my heart is just broken for not only the people that do unalive themselves, but for the people that are left behind, and that's why I wanted to do this about, the aftermath of that because, you know,
yeah, right.
when they're gone, their pain is gone. But so much of the time, those of us that are left behind, it's not sometimes our pain just begins because sometimes we are unaware that there is a problem. But a lot of times our pain just grows. We were already in all the pain and all that along with them, and then they're gone and now it's ours alone. It's completely ours. And it's heartbreaking. It is so heartbreaking. And I don't know. I always go back to kindness. And if we would just lead with kindness and do unto others as we would have them do unto us, how would we want somebody to talk to us? How would we want somebody um to, to just see our pain and help us through it and do that for other people because we all just we're all in this together when it comes down to it. We're all in this together and we're just all trying to get through it. So
That's why I said we're
anyway.
all a bunch of broken glass, but when you put us all together, we make one big, beautiful family.
Absolutely, like a mosaic or a stained glass
Mhm,
window or something. It's I
absolutely.
mean, something that's just a bunch of broken pieces and it can be so beautiful, and I
Yeah,
I
put us
believe that.
t
That's a very
yeah, I
good
do too.
point.
You put us
I
together
really
and we make a
do.
beautiful chosen family picture.
Mhm. I'm gonna go through some of these, starred comments. We got like 73. Some of them 'em we'll be able
Mischief.
to go through fast. Yeah. Well, Mischief had to step away, so
Oh.
some of it I'm to blame for because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, okay, this is a good point," and then I'm like, "Okay,
No,
I'm really." But some of them are just comments that,
no,
it'll I don't mean just comments, but you know what I mean, like, it's not,
you're good. I don't have
like, something
anything to
that's
do.
gonna take a lot, yeah. So, James Collins Cares says, "Popping in to hit the thumbs up and then back to the garden." He does a lot of gardening. Okay, Brazzy says
Crazy that
Canada has yeah, Brazy. Is it Brazy? Yeah. I
crazy.
always wanna say I usually say Brazy, and then for some reason I thought maybe it's Brazzy, but now I see the little line, so yes, it's Brazy. See, I was right to begin with and corrected
Yes, you
myself.
are.
So, I do that all the time. Canada has dignity with dying. It's a choice to pass. Oh, but there's major therapy, counseling, and chronic illness involved. Yeah,
I
I
I
get
see
that.
that.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say that I don't or I do support that, but I promise you when
Yeah.
my grandfather was on hospice and we were there for 2 months,
Mhm.
just like you said, I was praying. It's like this,
Yeah.
God answered my prayer one way or the other, it didn't matter. Take him out of pain. Let him get out of pain, okay? Either more pain medicine or he just took him home or he's
Mhm.
out of pain. So
Yeah,
when
that's
he
how it
answered,
was with my
I
mom.
I wanted.
Sunday's the 3rd anniversary of my mom's passing, and
Oh,
I remember not and I get what you mean, you're not praying for them to die, you are praying for them to be out of pain, whatever that means. If that
That's
means
right,
that
that's whatever that meant.
some
It meant
kind
when
of
you're gonna talk
medicine,
to
yeah.
go, because we've
It
talked it.
if that meant for her to quit talking to us and just be asleep so that she's not hurting, do that. If that means taking her home, take her home. If that
That's what
means
I
that if we need to give her more medicine, then we will give her more
think.
medicine. I just could
That's
not
right.
handle the pain. And
Yeah,
so, yeah, I
I don't wanna be in
absolutely
pain.
and so when she passed, as absolutely devastated as I was, there was a little bit of relief because she was not hurting because she was in so much pain.
I
So
see.
I absolutely I don't know, I really don't know how I feel about the dignity with dying thing. It's kinda one of those things that I say this on other things too. I'm not 100% for it, but I am not 100% against it. Like, I very well can see that there are times, that it is a good thing. So,
Yeah.
anyway, so Heather Marie Houston just is saying, "Hey, Susie, sorry I missed the beginning. Hope you're doing okay." Thank you. She's been very kind, trying to take care of me and my grief. A lot of people have been. Yeah. Okay, so Nova says here an individual can
Nova.
and she's sweet. I am so
Mhm.
glad that we met. She is a doll.
Nova.
I just love her. Yeah. An individual can be in palliative care for a long time, sometimes years. It's a program that opens more doors for the individual. Absolutely. It is
Yes.
here too. And that's just like even hospice. I know one particular case in particular that he went on and off hospice for years. He would get worse and he would be back on hospice and then he would get better and he'd be back off of it and more onto
It's
a
not a
palliative.
place to go when you're dying anymore,
Yeah, it's different. I mean, hospice used to just be like a death sentence. It was just the
and it's not
end. And
anymore.
yeah, it's not anymore. This can go on for a long time. Eat more pizza says in detention facilities, staff is required to check on the inmates once everybody 15
Oh,
minutes. It still happens. Yeah.
yeah. I could see that in more pizza.
Yeah. Aria says that it's so sad. Some of these, I'm just going to not, if they're just
Oh,
talking to
no,
each
that's
other, I'm going to
okay.
just let them do that. Jen Marie says that it's just too recently triggering for her, so she had to leave. That's fine. I want her to take care of herself. Wow, Heather Marie says, I've attempted 11 times. The
Oh,
first time was when I was 15. The last time was 2017. Oh, girl.
pick up that
I don't
phone.
even have words. Yes. If ever you have those thoughts again, please pick up that phone and not
You're
just
never
to,
alone.
I mean, not just to like a friend or family member, pick up that 988 and get them. And of course,
Absolutely.
friends and family, but these are people that are trained to get you past that initial, this is
It's
imminent.
just that crisis that's right there happening.
Yeah. Yeah. And then don't neglect to talk to family and friends and loved
Mhm.
ones because I guarantee that there's people out there that do want you to reach out and that do want to help. Yeah. Lady Victoria says that I hope you're okay. Yeah, absolutely. Ben Bacon Bits says, "Oh, the accents in this episode, it's going to be epic."
Y'all,
And your
y'all,
accent and
y'all,
yeah, a
y'all,
lot of
y'all.
y'alls. Yeah.
Y'all.
Yeah. So in case you haven't already subbed to Keela, there is her channel. Please go over there and give her some love and hit that subscribe button. You will not be sorry. She is awesome and she has some resources on Facebook too for different situations that you may find yourself in. Her whole deal is she will tell you you are not alone. If I can't be there, I will find you somebody that can be there. She has a whole crew, y'all. It's not just her. She is
It
awesome.
takes a village.
Yeah. I know that even whenever I feel just either, you know, overwhelmed, whether it be overwhelmingly happy, overwhelmingly
Right.
sad, mad, whatever. Sometimes I'll just go and even watch just one of your replays and just
Okay.
like hearing the words, and especially if I can have a live and getting in with the chat and everything, It is just
That
so nice to know that people are there and we are not alone. And what is amazing, and you say this too, I don't remember your exact words, but you will. Um, there are people in those chats that don't get along, they're
absolutely.
but they get along there,
Yes, they do.
and it is beautiful. I mean, there
It's
are
a safe
people there
place.
that I know that I disagree with, and I mean, I'm not saying that we don't get along, we just don't communicate because we are on different sides of things.
And you know what? That
But
is your
in there, we talk.
absolute but that's your
Yeah.
absolute right, and that is one reason that I wanted this channel, and I tell 'em it's not my channel, it's everyone.
That's what I say about this one.
Yeah, it's not
It's
just my channel. I
ours.
couldn't make it, it's our channel. I couldn't do it with
No,
without a
yeah.
team, and my team is pretty
Yeah.
dadgum bad.
Yeah, they
They're
are.
awesome.
Like, when you were in the hospital and people
Uh-huh.
took over for you, it was beautiful. It was
I was
absolutely
yeah,
beautiful.
I was scared
Oh,
about
I
that,
know.
and then they did it, and they picked up the pieces, and I was like, "Oh my god, they're amazing."
Yeah, yeah. But I love the chat. I love it reminds me, honestly,
Mhm,
of the lifeboat, how it used to be,
mhm.
because when I would go to the lifeboat, I very seldom ever even cared what he was saying. I was paying attention to that chat. I was listening, reading what the chat was saying. And so much of the time your chat is the same. They are so great. And I love it because even though it's people that maybe I don't associate with for whatever reason, may just be I don't know them. But it could be that we have a difference of opinion on something, but nobody's rude. Everybody gets along. Everybody, they welcome each other. I've been welcomed by people that I know don't like me, and that's fine. And I know they mean it. They are genuinely welcoming me in because whenever I see them and I welcome them in, I genuinely mean it too. And it's just I don't
Yes.
it's beautiful.
No, they really are. They're wonderful.
It is a beautiful, beautiful channel. You have created with your team a beautiful place.
Thank you. Thank you.
Lady Victoria
Really.
says she's so sorry for your loss. And Heat My Short says just got out of Jimenez stream. I'm hoping that you're all well. Yeah. Heat My Short says he's here for me. Thank you. Crystal Phoenix Rising was on her lunch. That's been quite a while ago now, but
Out of that.
Keep My Shorts has gotta run. His neighbor needs help with something. Well, I hope everything's
Oh,
okay, and, you know, we will see you later. From a poet, Brian Lucas says, "You never lace weed with anything without telling everybody."
right,
Absolutely.
right.
Absolutely. And especially when it's a person that has never done drugs, never.
That's even
Never
worse.
done any kind so they don't know. They don't know if they have a weird reaction to something.
No,
So, Incarnasoul says stuff like PCP can cause permanent brain damage from a
absolutely,
single exposure. That's what it was.
absolutely.
That's what it was.
I
So,
know several
yeah.
people that'll never be back to themselves, and
Yeah.
that's so sad.
He never was. It was devastating. I went
Uh,
from this amazing person. I just adored him. I mean, we were
uh-huh.
best friends. I absolutely adored him, not in a romantic type of a
Yeah.
situation. He had a girlfriend, I had a boyfriend, the whole bit. But we were very close friends, and I have never gotten over it. And that's whenever I was what was I, a senior in high school. We were
Oh,
seniors.
wow. And to have to deal with that,
Yeah.
that's hard.
So David says, I wish to be the bright or the brighter or the bringer. Sorry, I can read eventually. The bringer of sunshine, but I'm always raining on the parade.
Oh,
Aw.
David.
uh, here is Mare. She has got some of the most insightful things. She breaks my heart. I had a whole plan carefully plotted so it wouldn't directly result in my family finding me.
And that is exactly what I'm talking about. Do you see the difference?
Hmm.
Man, I'm so sorry that you ever felt like that, and I wish that you didn't
Absolutely.
ever have to feel that. But she had a plan. She plotted. She was serious. And
Oh, yeah.
that for my family not finding me.
Hmm.
I'm so sorry, sweetheart. Don't ever think
Oh,
you
I
don't have
know.
anybody. We're here.
Yeah. Absolutely. She is such a dear person to
Yes.
me. I'm so it's funny because her and Mischief both, on one of the lives whenever I first figured out that I'm probably gonna need some mods because this is hard to talk and, to try to,
Yeah, right?
you know
I learned it the
but,
hard way.
yeah. But, so anyway, I, like, literally, they say I threw wrenches at them. I literally just was like, "Okay, I see this person all the time. You are a mod. You're a mod. You get a wrench and you get a wrench," kind of. So they're like, "You gotta be careful. Susie will throw those wrenches at you."
That's what I did. I was
So
like, here y'all, we need help.
yeah. So Evie says, "So sorry for your and your family's loss, Keela."
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
David says, "Negligent discharge killed my son."
Oh my God, David. I
That's
I can't even
awful.
say anything. I have no words.
Mm-mm.
I have no words.
Yeah, I don't either. I I'm
It's- mm,
I'm so sorry. I don't have ugh,
I get so mad about that. And I
yeah.
mean passionately mad.
Arya says, "Agreed. Monitor your kids online."
Yes.
Absolutely. David said, "This is important too. My son's was not self-inflicted."
And that is not uh-uh.
Mm.
Discharged too early, I can only guess.
Mhm.
Mm, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Jen Marie says, "Women die at a higher rate in their 40s and 50s by their
Yeah.
own hand." Yeah.
We're all trying to
Brian Luke.
live, and I just want to tell everybody. I just want to grab them and tell them, just hang on, just hold
Mhm.
on. The sun will come up tomorrow, please. It's just
And if
the
not
sun.
tomorrow, the next day, but it's
That's
coming,
right.
you know.
Just please hold on. Don't let go.
Yeah. So Brian Lucas says, "My life has really sucked at times, really sucked, but that was never an option for me. I like breathing too much, even though it really hurts sometimes." Absolutely, Brian. And please, if you ever do feel that and there's a shift and it does become an option, speak out. In fact, speak out before it becomes an option
Brian knows
because,
he come on my
there's
channel
no
and told his
time. And
story, and we got
yeah,
to do another part. I need to get with him.
yeah, this is sad. Jen
Hey,
Marie, the first
Jen.
leading cause of death for kids is
Yes,
mass pew pew.
and that is so sad that our kids.
It is to me too. And that's one of those cases where it's immediately they were mentally ill and
Yes, they were
sometimes they
mentally ill.
weren't.
No, how about they were just mean and was born with no soul? That's what can
Yeah.
happen also.
Yeah. And Nova's sending you and I both
I
love.
love you, Nova. She's like,
Eat More Pizza says, "Good afternoon from work. Just wanted to say hi." He's so sweet. He's
mhm,
just, yeah. Arya says, she's talking to Brian. She says, "I'm sorry, Brian, but agreed, life sucks sometimes. But like Keela says, we can do hard things. Or breathe in, breathe out. You
breathe
made
out.
it."
That's it. So I told her, breathe
Yeah.
in, breathe out. You made it.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's what we have to do.
Absolutely. Aw, it takes a special
Oh,
soul to do what you
David,
were doing, Miss.
it made me cry.
I know.
Thank you,
Whoops.
David.
Aw. Maris telling Heather, "My first attempt, I was 15. Glad you didn't succeed." I am too. Heather has
Me
become a good
too.
friend to me. She is so sweet. Have you met her? She's so funny. She does makeup tutorials.
No, I need to watch. I need. Oh God, don't get me laughing.
Yeah, we're gonna do one. we're, we're, go- we're gonna do one. So probably next week. I had to postpone the one we had planned because I
Oh,
scratched my eye, and I'm not allowed to use makeup until after Thursday, which is what,
oh,
tomorrow. So I'm hoping that we can get together next week. I've had to really,
that,
it just one thing after another. I had to move stuff around this week. It's just been,
yeah, and I started it by having to go to the doctor.
yeah, yeah.
I was like, oh my God.
It's all your fault. It's Keela's fault.
I started it. They know.
Yeah. So Eat More Pizza says nobody knows what others are going through. A lot of times people do. They say they're okay and they're not.
They're not. You're
Yeah.
right, I didn't repeat it
Yep.
because they won't saying okay does not that's not an
Doesn't mean
answer.
they're okay.
That's right.
Yeah. Dusty says hello from Colt
Hey,
Water.
Dusty.
Thank you all for the love and support. We love Dusty. He's a good guy.
Yes,
Wow.
thank
Here's Mayor says, had a friend unalive himself in his 20s because his
you.
family disowned him for being gay. Broke my
That
heart.
breaks my heart.
Yeah. I am so happy that my friend did not succeed. Um, I really want him to come on. He started a whole foundation that helps people that are in the situation that he has found himself in his life, and is doing so good with it. And I mean, he would have like this huge amazing story, and he has a blog and stuff, and I'll have to ask him if it's okay for me to share that cuz he's kind of personal about it. He kind of does
Yeah,
it and he tells people, but he doesn't necessarily just, scream it at the rooftops. But anyway, I think he'll come on. It's just got to be in his time. I try not to
right.
push people. When you're ready, if you're ever ready, then I welcome just about anybody on to talk about good or bad things.
Mhm.
But with him, I think he could be so much of a help to so many people, whether they are in the community or not. Pain is pain,
Right.
and trauma and betrayal, and people that are absolutely completely 100% straight get completely kicked out of families. I have a good friend of mine that is being ignored by her family because she was on drugs years ago. She has gotten off of drugs. She went to jail, did her time, has become a huge advocate for being clean and sober,
They need
and for the anti Scientology community, and her family still is, keeping her out. Now, I don't know the whole story. She's going to be on next week. And, there are 2 sides to every story, and then the truth is usually somewhere in the middle, kind of a
and
deal,
then
and
I
I
say,
get it.
then you got screenshots.
Yeah, and then there's the
Then
receipts.
there's screenshots.
So, but, yeah, I just I understand that her family has that right, but it doesn't take away her pain. And
Right.
so, we don't have to be in any certain community for that to fit. Yeah. So Eat More Pizza
John
says
and
not
Ben
to
was cracking me
promote,
up. I'm sorry.
but I wrote a poem. It's on my YouTube as a song, remember Robin Williams. Aw, we'll have to check
Yes.
that out. Pizza,
Yes.
yeah. So let's see. Lori Driscoll's going to catch the replay. She got called away. So Brazy says some elderly are so exhausted from
Uh-huh.
physical pain.
Uh-huh.
There is less years ahead of them, and they've said they've said that along with I'm just so tired. I get it.
They are tired, and sometimes, you know, it's their
Mm.
wishes, not ours. We have to remember that.
Yeah, yeah, and
We're selfish. We want them with us.
yeah,
That's a
yeah,
human nature. We're selfish,
yeah.
but you have to be strong enough to look at their quality of life and what their wishes are. And
Mhm.
I 100%, as much as I wouldn't like it, I'm going to do what their wishes were. And
Yeah,
that's just it because I want somebody to do that for me.
yeah.
So
I absolutely understand that.
it may be
So
nothing at all, but I just want to be able to trust somebody to do what I want
yeah.
done. You know?
Uh-huh. So Marilee says, "I'm proud of your grandson for asking for help when he was considering ending his life." Yeah, I am too. I'm glad that he talked to somebody. Or yeah, she's proud of her grandson. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am too. I am too. Yeah, he's on the spectrum and he was often bullied. I don't understand that. I mean, I know
That
it's the
why do
truth,
we have
but
bullying still?
I know, I just wanna just they learn that shit at home.
They have to
If
be
you
taught hate because you're not born with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-mm.
I mean, I don't think that all parents who have kids that end up bullies are, bullies and teaching it at home, but they're getting it somewhere. They're getting it somewhere. They're getting it from online, they're getting it on TV, they're getting it somewhere. And as parents, we have got to start figuring this out and figuring out how to stop that. I mean, it's not fun and easy, but it is one of the things that we should be doing as parents. Yeah. Ben Baconbit says that it is so hard to shut that door once you attempt it. It continues to be something that your mind tells you to do, seemingly the smallest things, or when the seemingly, smallest things go wrong, while tragic to the point of comedy even. Yeah. I understand what you're talking about. It's like kind of almost sickly funny how your mind will play those tricks on you, and even the smallest things can trigger you right back to that moment, and thinking of that as a resolution, and it's sad. And it's almost, it's that ironic kind of comedy, not like ha-ha comedy, but I understand what he's saying. Yeah, Ben says it's like jumping the shark, it seems. Once it's on the table, it remains there for a long time. Absolutely. That's a good point, I think. I really do. So, let's see here. Ben says survivor's guilt is also a
Like I say,
contributor.
get rid of that guilt.
Mhm. Incarna Soul seems trapped. Yep, I contemplated and wanted to, but never attempted, since I thought attempting and failing would have made my
Right.
situation worse. It was back in junior high.
And see, that's it.
I just want
But
to give you a hug.
and Carnesol knows exactly that it's if you don't succeed with it, you're making it worse. Well, who knows what's going to be your life's going to be
Mhm.
like then.
Mhm.
It's just
Mhm.
no
I
one should feel like that. But I can tell you, Susie, I can see why they do. After I've
I
been through
can too.
what you've been through,
Yeah.
even I never thought I could ever say that. I was like, never would I
Mhm.
say that. I do know now why people would. Being in the
Yeah, I've
medical,
I've thought, like, not contemplated doing it, but contemplated, not to the point of, like, making a plan or anything,
yeah,
but there's been that thought of mine where it was be like, "Wouldn't that be easier?" And I always thought, "Yeah, for you, that would be easier." But what about Mark and Megan and Katie
yeah,
and all the grandkids and everything? But I do remember a lot of times feeling just so sick and tired. The tired, I think, is almost worse than the sick. You say, "I need a break." I have said that so many times, that I need a break. And then sometimes you get one, like right now, I'm on a break from chemo, and it's almost worse because I'm like, I have then the fear of I'm not doing anything to fight this. I know it's still in my body and I'm not fighting it. So then you're scared of that. So, I don't know if the break is really, I don't know. You need a break if nothing else happening is what you need. And,
yeah. And
I
everybody always
needed a,
tells me when I get on here, "Oh, you need to go rest." Do y'all understand? I'm living in a prison. All I speak
yes,
to is my two dogs. Sometimes this is what I need.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, so Incarnasol says, took years of first walling myself. Sorry. I was like, what is that word? I know it and I can't get it. Walling myself off from others, and a decade or more of self help and spiritual development to work to turn things around. I still have some hair triggered defenseness.
Yeah,
Yeah, I understand that. I can remember like thinking, okay, I'm going to go to sleep. Maybe I just won't wake up. The thinking that maybe I would just die was more prevalent than the maybe I would do something to cause that.
yeah.
So, you know, that's how it played out more for me. So, oh, Tiff, I'm sorry. I
Oh,
had a
Tiff,
friend this week. It's so hard.
Tiff.
Oh, I want to give you hugs too. I truly do. Thompson, I have always wondered why Stitch, who was on the Ellen show, unalived himself. Does anyone have any
Twitch.
updates on him? Yeah,
That's
Twitch.
how
Yeah.
Twitch.
Yeah, I read Switch, but it was Twitch. That's one of those where it auto corrects. Yeah. Yeah, but Twitch. I
I can read
loved him,
autocorrect.
and and when he passed, it was devastating,
It
and
was.
it's another one of those that we think that people have got it all. We think that their life is so good, and that I don't know, but I have seen his wife on different shows, and she found out after the fact that he was, um, doing a lot of drugs, and he was doing those drugs because he was just having so much self-doubt. The Ellen show was ending, and, he was having to try to figure out how to move on, and he had gotten into some, I guess, financial troubles and just different things that I don't care how much money's in your bank account, you
Mhm.
still have those same problems. It's just on a larger scale
That's
sometimes,
because it's
but
this can be on a larger scale. You're still gonna have the same issues.
yeah, it's the same thing. You know, it's just like, I often think about this that, whenever my husband and I were broke, and we were broke for a while, his ex-wife had really messed up his credit and everything. And so we were struggling. Everything was going to pay off things. It wasn't that we were trying to charge things. It was that he was left with the bills. And so we were struggling to pay everything off. And we didn't want to do the word just went out of my head, bankruptcy. We didn't want to do that. We wanted to
Right.
pay it off and do it. And so anyway, when we would buy steak for dinner, it was
Mhm.
like round steak. Whatever. We still had that round steak kinda deal. It was still steak, but not the greatest. As
I
we
don't
got
eat red
everything
meat.
paid off, and now we're doing well, it's more into, like, your ribeyes and all that. And so that's the same thing, is no matter how much money you make, you've got the same problems. It's
Mhm.
just a different scale. And so I think of it a lot of times. I know that's silly, but I think of it as the round steak and ribeye thing.
That's the,
You know,
yeah,
it is still the same problem or the same
yeah,
whatever. It's just a different level. Doesn't mean one's better or worse than the other one either. It just
right.
means
It's just
that it
something.
is what is yours, you
Mhm.
know. So Aria, sorry, that it's terrible when adults don't listen to kids in fight mode or survival mode. Oh, I
I
know.
agree with that.
I do
Kids are
too.
not heard.
Yeah. And Tiff says I don't believe in bad kids.
I have met a couple, Tiff, that, and I put it like this: you can't grow a soul, and I don't want to. I don't want anybody thinking bad of me about what I'm about to say. But if
Yeah.
I had if I hadn't seen it and I haven't worked in this field, I wouldn't say it.
Mhm.
You can't grow a soul, and that's just the only way I really know how to put it. So they can't give you a diagnosis, which I don't like all that crap anyway, labeling kids, but they
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
give you a diagnosis and like for the antisocial personality disorder, uh, until you're over 18. Okay,
Mhm.
well, usually so they diagnose them with IDD, intellectual development disorder. Okay. So you have a kid. If the kid even has IDD or a teenager, I'm immediately going to the antisocial personality, to the DSM, and looking at that and going, yeah. So they don't really diagnose them. But my
Mhm.
point, until they're 18, but if they have IDD, it's sometimes it goes right back to that. May
Mhm.
not be as extreme, maybe worse. But there's not bad kids. I agree with that. But if
Mhm.
you were born and you don't have a soul and you can go torture animals and watch them hurt and go torture humans and laugh about it, you can't grow a soul. Those are the kids I will not, they're not staying around me or my other residents. And that's
Mhm.
not being ugly, but they need to be something more than what I can give them.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no shame in being that's above my pay scale. That's.
Especially you're watching them pour hot coffee on a chicken just to see how fast, how high it would
Ugh.
jump. My chickens, yeah, he had to
Mhm.
go.
Yeah, bless your heart. Oh, and that poor chicken. If my 14-year-old daughter told me about that, the church would be shopping for a new pastor. Yeah.
Not with the man that's best friends with the pastor. It's
Mhm.
always the woman's fault, the girl's fault.
Mhm.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah, here's the one where you were trying to get that
That's it. And this
premenstrual dysphoria
Facebook mom
disorder.
got that's it.
It's
It's
a real
way
thing.
worse.
That's what I was saying is that, we try to blow it off like, "Oh, it's hormones,
Women
it's
are
teenage or
hysterical.
premenstrual," Yeah,
Yeah,
but those hormones can take you to places where you do things that you would not do if
yeah,
it were not being driven by hormones. So,
that's right.
like one time, I was very premenstrual and I took a gallon, actually it was a 2-gallon jar of pickles and took all the pickles out of the jar and stood on the
Mhm.
toilet and dumped the jar of pickle juice over my husband's head because I was pissed off at him. Now, had I not been suffering from insane, and it was caused because I can't take birth control pills, and they had me on birth
Yeah.
control pills. They make me crazy. I don't like the word crazy, but I'm telling you,
Oh, I'll say the same
I
thing. I own my crazy.
yeah, I own my crazy. I
I
was
own my crazy.
crazy.
Mhm.
Now, thank God that it wasn't, I didn't throw knives at him or something, which I contemplated, and I just dumped this pickle juice over his head. But if it can make a rational human being dump 2 gallons of pickle juice over this
John,
poor man's head, you know. Mm.
look at John. Look at your chat, Susie. Look what John just said.
Oh gosh,
Healing
I'm
was so.
probably way
Oh no,
I'm probably way
it's
far away.
funny.
Is it down at the bottom? Oh,
Yes,
see,
ma'am.
hold on. Hold on.
It's oh my God, it's so funny.
Oh yeah. Hell hath no fury like a southern woman scorned.
Well, I figured you about that when you were talking about that,
Ah, no.
John.
So we have
No, but
Nova is saying what just happened in Canada, I feel was more premeditated than mental health issues. Is this with
thank
the
you, Nova.
children? Is this with those children that we're talking about? Because I don't know if I don't know what the latest developments are, so I'm gonna have to
Right.
follow up on that one.
Uh, I'm on live. Okay, you're home. All right, I'll be there in a second.
So John says we are all very passionate about the media and their misdiagnosis of mental health issues. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
He also says, "Oh, support squad." Okay, I
Support
thought it
squad.
was support for squids. I was thinking, what a strange thing for someone from Texas to support.
Keep on being.
He's so funny. So Ben says, saw media affect my many teens about Columbine, sadly. Almost all of it false reporting by lazy media.
I agree.
I do too.
I agree.
John says, we are very passionate. Okay, yeah, I read that one. Sorry. Oh, I skipped
I
one. That's
did.
why. So this one is, she was, oh, I think I'm supposed to go here first. Yeah, I felt, oh no, I missed something. Hold on. Okay, we're going to go back up here a little bit. I have skipped some stuff. Okay. Tiff says, when I realized my daughter had an online presence, so did I. Here came mom. It's part of our life. Yep. I will get back to John's comments, but I just want to get them in order. Keela's still fighting her mom for the phone. Yeah.
True statement.
Crazy says that your mom rocks. You are blessed. Yeah. Boy, she
Baby
stayed
girl,
right there with you at that hospital too.
15 days. She never left.
Wow. We can do, or what we can do is also true for adults. Yeah, the things that what we can do, yeah, it is. It's also
Yeah.
true for adults. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ben says, "What
Oh
does
my
the
gosh.
red-haired goddess's shirt says?"
It says support squad mental health awareness. I was trying to wear my semicolon for this subject, but it wouldn't go over my and I get mad and start
I
getting
have
aggravated.
mine.
You have to walk away.
I
Yep,
have
you
mine.
just
My heart with the
I'm wearing
semicolon in it.
mine and I'm wearing mine.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of the semicolon shirts, but I can't get them on right
Yeah. Yeah.
now. I
Says
can't.
Ben
This
says, "Yeah, if you're
paper is
dealing with
so
someone you are trying to de-escalate, don't face them directly. Try to face the same direction as them or 90 degrees from them. Tone is very important as well." True.
there you go, Mr. Ben. Perfect.
He's so smart. He
Very.
says validating how they feel is very important and usually the first thing. Absolutely. That's what I say.
But
Don't be
don't
like, "But your
placate
life
them.
is so good." Yeah.
Don't placate
No,
them
no,
because
no.
they
Yeah.
can't stand it.
Mhm.
Just talk to them like a human being
Well,
and
that's what
fact.
I say. Even with just me with having cancer, people will say, "What do I do? How do I talk to them?" Talking about somebody else, and I said, "Treat them like them.
They're
Talk to them like they are them." Everybody
they're
when I
them.
first got diagnosed wanted to baby me, and it's the same thing with people who are contemplating unaliving themselves. People wanna, "Oh, no." No.
Yeah.
Talk to them. Just
Stop.
talk.
I like the way that Sophia. I can't say
Mhm.
her screen name.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
M, but
yeah.
Sophia. She is so down to earth. Not gonna
Yes,
take any crap. She's gonna tell you how it is. She's not. She don't care if she hurts your feelings. You're gonna hear what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
absolutely.
And she's
Absolutely, and
very
I
wise.
deal better with that than I deal with babying me, and I
Yeah,
think that
don't
if I
do
were
that.
in a situation where I was contemplating something like that, I don't think I would want to be babied. I would feel it was insulting. I would
That's
I
right.
would want to be dealt with
Yeah.
where I'm at as a, you
Come to
know
where I'm at. I don't, like we
Yeah,
need to meet people where they're at. We don't expect them to
yeah,
come to us. No, we're gonna meet people where
absolutely.
they're at.
So Marilee says, I truly believe the why is almost always the internal pain was just too much to handle, and escape was the only choice." Yeah. I think
I
so
mean
too.
that
I
I
think that they
really I
see
have to
that
agree.
as the only that they see
Yeah.
that as their
I
only way out, 'cause
and
they don't want to hurt the other people. They're just tired of hurting. Again, goes back to tired. It can be a physical tired, but it can also be
yeah,
a mental tired.
mental
Just
exhaustion.
mentally.
I have no more brain width to take on anybody else's problems. That's what I tell
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. Ben says tribe is very important as well. Having people you trust who aren't emotionally invested in the same situation can see things so much clearer.
Yes,
Absolutely. I believe that
absolutely.
too. I think that, sometimes the person that, like, them well and everything, but maybe they're not your closest friend, your closest confidant, but somebody that you know and trust might be the person that is best to talk to you
Right.
when you're in a tough situation. Just because you're not then going to be trying to just play nice to keep them from being upset.
No.
You're going to maybe be more likely to tell them your true feelings.
Right.
Because I know that whenever I'm really upset, and not to that point, but when I'm really upset about something, I have a hard time talking to the person that I'm upset with about
Uh-huh.
why I'm upset with them. Because it's not necessarily something that they've done wrong. It's just something that has happened that has hurt me in some way or made me mad in some way. And,
Mhm.
maybe it wasn't intentional. And so whenever it gets to the point where they're like, "Well, I didn't mean it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry." It's like, "No, no, no, no. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay."
Yeah.
But if I go to somebody else, like say I'm mad at Mark and I went to you and I said, "Oh, he said this and that," and it's not, I don't think that of that as like slamming somebody. It is more of a venting and more of a just, I think of it as self-care. I think sometimes we have to talk things out with people that aren't emotionally involved.
Yes.
You're not gonna it's not gonna upset you that I'm upset with Mark. That's why people go to
Right.
counseling, is because they're not emotionally involved in it. And so I think that that's a very good point.
It is. No, I mean
Absolutely.
it really is. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Tiff says that these are hot or tough topics for people who are struggling or dealing with people that are struggling. Hugs to anyone needing them. Absolutely. There's been so many of you that when I've seen your comments, I've just been like, I want to give you a hug. I just could, this is one of those things like hug here, hug here. I never used to be a hugger. And that's one thing that cancer gave me is, for some reason, since I ended up with cancer, I am more of a hugger now. Before I'd be like, "Ugh, don't touch me." And I would just be like, "Hi, I love
Right.
you." But, now I'm like, "Bring it in. Bring it here."
Come on with it.
Yeah. Razy says it's wrong to say someone's crazy for attempting. Yeah. Judgment is nothing but cruel. Absolutely. No, I
I
don't think
would
they're
be
crazy
trying
people.
to ask, why did you feel like this was your only way out? Can you
Mhm. I would
explain that
too.
to me? Yeah,
Yeah,
and let
and I
them
think
talk it out
sometimes
to you.
absolutely, let them talk it out, let them because when they explain what their reasoning is behind it, you never know when something in their head's gonna go, "Oh,
Oh, yep,
I didn't think about this," and so
that's right.
they may talk themselves right
Out
off
of
the
it.
ledge.
That's
Yeah,
right.
literally right off the edge.
Yeah.
Ugh. So John says, "That was the toughest for me. I always thought that I betrayed her memory by being happy." He's talking about his daughter.
No, you have
"I've since come to the point where I smile every time I think of her now with no regrets."
that's
Oh,
awesome.
that's beautiful. That is
Yeah,
beautiful, John. Thank you so much for that.
I like that, John. Thank you for that
I
input.
do too. I do too. And that's where my friend is at too. She said that she smiles now when she thinks about her or hears her name or sees some of her artwork or everything, where before it was painful. And she did feel guilty if she felt joy for any reason. And now she doesn't. She doesn't feel the guilt anymore that and I don't know, maybe that is a stage of grief, but we just need to not let it consume us.
Right.
I don't know that there's any way for us to not feel grief or not feel guilt, but we cannot let it consume us.
The grief is
So,
just the price you pay for love and guilt.
yeah.
Throw it away.
Yeah. Absolutely. Brazy says I felt that way after my little died. I was angry that the world was still turning and I could see the kids laughing and playing. He was 10, so her little brother, and she was 13. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Crazy, I still see Dixie Ann. I see Dixie is forever 10 years old. I can't even
Mhm.
imagine what she'd be today.
Mhm.
I know.
Yeah, when my sister died, she was 24, and I can remember feeling that way. I was so angry that everything was still going, everybody was still living their lives, and she was actually about to graduate from college, and, like, when her graduation came along, I was pissed, just, you know, it's grief,
It
and
is great, Susie.
yeah.
Me being the paramedic on call to my stepmom, my biological father, and my 10-year-old sister. And then nobody knew
Mhm.
really what it was, and they threw me in the back of a sheriff's department car because they knew
Mhm.
how I jump bag. I might, which we wouldn't have been able to get up there anyway. That whole thing burned for like a day and a half before they
Mhm.
could. So, but they took me to my house and
Mhm.
informed me of that. So that's why they wouldn't let me
Mm.
go on the scene.
Girl, I don't know how you've carried on with life the way you do. John says she
One
was such
is
a bright light in my life. I now carry that light with me everywhere I go. Her gift to me. Absolutely.
yes,
They
um,
do they do, when they're here with us, and I don't mean this like that it's better because it's not. But when they are here with us, it's not the same. It's like they can't be with us 24 hours a day, but when they are gone, they are. They are there. My mom is with me. I can't even like there are moments when I'm doing even today's live that I can feel my mom there and reminding me, remember when, so and so did this or remember so and so. They are there with you. And even if it's just for a second here and there, they are there. You carry them with you. And it is such a gift. Such a gift. Bacon Bit says my false yes, false reporting by media and yeah, the Columbine. I read that one. Yeah, that's the one I skipped to by accident a while ago. Yeah, yeah. That all of those school things are
have an issue with that.
yeah.
My
I do
nieces
too.
shouldn't be my nieces and my nephews shouldn't be doing active shooter drills when they're in 1st and 2nd
No.
grade. It should not even be a thing.
Well, that's why my daughter pulled her 2 kids and now 3 because she has Veta that comes on here. She's 8 now, but she has homeschooled Veta her whole life, and the 2 kids ever since the divorce and the whole deal with their dad and everything. It started out like a fear that he would show up at the school, but then that's whenever some of the more recent school incidences happened, and my daughter could not rest. We are in a very rural area with a tiny little school that does not have a lot of security means, and that is exactly where that kind of stuff happens a lot. Not always, obviously, but a lot. And so that's why she pulled him out and did homeschooling. Now my youngest daughter, she works at the school where my granddaughters go, and she's okay with it. She feels safe, and they have huge security measures there. But I get it. And it has just those incidences has messed with the mental health of so many kids. I don't understand how it could not when you have kindergartners and even preschoolers that are having to do those drills.
And it makes me so sick.
It does me too. And even like I have seen so many commercials lately for that sort of thing, and they show the kids having a very active role in it because something has already happened to the teacher,
Right.
which is good in a way to prepare them for that, but in another way, that's a lot to expect the children to then take on the responsibility of closing the blinds, shutting, putting these certain kinds of locks on the doors, moving desks in front of the doors, getting their classmates hidden. And that is too much for a child.
It is.
I will never.
I have a problem with it.
Yeah. So again, I think I'm going to go ahead and put this one back up, even though we saw it, and I'm going to go ahead and let that be the end of our program today. I do want to talk to you though, Keela, about that show that I'm going to do next week. It's going to be more of an overview of mental illnesses. I think it's a really important show, and I will get the stuff that I have got ahead
I
of
will
time to
email
you so that you
I will
can see it
email
too.
mine to you because I was actually gonna do a mental health 101, and so I
Mhm.
actually think I have that already. I'll send it to you. It may
Okay.
help you
Yeah. We can
tremendously.
share each other stuff.
Yeah,
So
because this one's
I think
got, like, the
that'd be
main thing and then underneath.
yeah. But I would love to do that with you if you're
Okay,
interested. It'd be next
yes,
week. It'd be great. It'd be a good
absolutely.
way to, kind of,
That's
we're
right, we
finishing
bask in
out.
the flames of hell, John, when
Yes.
I'm laying out in my pool.
But anyway, I am going to let it go at there, and I'm going to just say goodbye to you now.
Okay,
And
just yeah, just
to the
call me
chat,
too.
I'm just going to just say goodbye to everybody, I guess.
Thank y'all for
And we
being there,
will see you next time. Thank you all
and
for being here.
I will send you that stuff right now, Susie.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay, end stream.
Hope you enjoyed the show, so glad you were here. We meet here most days, we're but first coffee and you're welcome here. We talk about hard subjects, but we also laugh a lot. If you have a loss or win, we will cheer for you. We're but first coffee, and you are safe here. So hit those like and subscribe buttons, notifications set to all. You don't wanna miss a show, because this is your home to y'all. So hit those like and subscribe buttons, notifications set to all. You don't wanna miss a show, because this is your home to y'all.